Whoopsie doopsie. Well, I'm just gonna hit go live while I set the rest of it up.
All right.
And I think we are in fact live. Hello, Andrew. Welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Hello. I am doing absolutely fine.
I'm good. I'm just setting this up real quick. Important notice: this is an annual reminder that we periodically update our legal terms. Okay. I just think of the South Park episode whenever I see legal. Did you see the human Sentai pad? Because I don't think you've watched South
I
Park.
don't think so.
But there's a very
No.
funny episode where, in the episode, he goes through the terms and agreements and he just agrees and he doesn't read it. And so in the
Mhm.
Apple agreements, they're like, we get to turn you into a human centipede for our iPad products. And
Oh
they're
my
like, come
gosh.
in, they kidnapped him, and like his dad's like, don't, and he punches him, and he's like, ah, what? He's like, you agreed to this. It's in the contract. And he's out there with like his friends, and he's like, you don't actually read them. It's like, yeah, how do you know what you're agreeing to if you don't read it?
They all actually read it.
Yeah, except for our main character who has to. Oh, it was.
Do you do you ever read the terms of service, Max?
It sort of depends. Usually if it's only something I'm physically signing. Uh, so practically for most stuff, no. Uh, I've because who the fuck's going to? Uh,
Well, now that we know your weakness, we're gonna sell you stuff and put stuff in the terms of service.
well, here's something kind of interesting. Um, there's sort of a in the so in U.S. law, there's been a few rulings that indicate specifically that you can't do that because of the nature of how the term and agreements are structured, and there is no way to negotiate them. Uh, they are like interpreted in a way that's more reasonable and more favorable to the signee, which isn't unprecedented in Canadian law. This is how we sort of do Native American contracts, right? We have tons of treaties with them, but because of the circumstances of the treaty signing, they're always interpreted in the way most favorable to the Native American treaty, not the person, but the tribe signing it, which is kind of interesting. But yeah,
Hmm.
before because we were talking, kind of an interesting thing we were talking about a little bit earlier that I thought we'd bring up at the top of the show. Uh, Purchases versus engagement, I guess would be the topical term. Because I was talking about how I watched a thing a while ago that shows like a big disproportionate amount of sales to actual playtime of games like Five Nights at Freddy's, and it wouldn't surprise me if some of the other big YouTuber games were like that. And we were talking about what would be better to sell like a million copies and have 10 people play them, or like sell 10 copies and have 10, or like sell 20 copies and have 20 people play them. And I said the smaller purchases and the more playtime, or the equivalent would be the smaller purchase and more reading would be better. And I said I wanted Andrew to answer, but I figured we'd do it at the top of the show because I thought it was interesting. So Andrew, would you rather have the sales or the playtime on your games?
I guess it depends on the amounts. I think what I told you was 10 like a
That is true. Like, I
it
mean,
was more extreme.
a literal billion sales is like I just retire for the rest of my life.
Hmm. Yeah.
I wonder.
Yeah, so it's kind of
I wonder if we
it's
could.
kind of cheating. But then on the other hand, then it's like, okay, well, if you're in it just for the money, which like I'm not in it for my games for the money. You're not in your writing for the money. Um if we were just in whatever we were doing for the money, then we would just do like I don't know, start a car wash or something, right? Like something that like you don't care about. It's just like some sort of like easy business model, tried and true business model or whatever,
I'd write a bunch of
and
weird
just do
erotica.
that. But
That's a bunch of furry erotica. That's what I would do.
Don't do that.
I don't know how the furries
Yeah.
got control of like the entire economy, but that's what I do. His beak glistened in the moonlit nights. But then I wonder if we're going to say that there is like a threshold where the money is better and a threshold where the view is better, could we put like a dollar point on like one could we actually convert money to like reading or like watch time or whatever? Like how I wonder if we could like math it out to figure out how much exactly is one person's sort of attention on the product worth, or I guess on the art worth, right?
Yeah, I think a higher amount of like sales to plays or reads would mean like are low.
Oh, hold on.
Because they like your product rather than they're just buying your thing because they let's say they're it's like a YouTube channel thing. Like if I do devlogs, they all the viewers all go buy the game and none of them play it. And it's like, well, okay, that sucks. I can't rely on my viewers to play my games because they're just doing it to support my videos rather than my games. Um, so then having less players, but I would start less purchases, but a good amount of percentage of their players means that maybe those players will actually come back for your next game. And then you have a little bit more word of mouth, exponential growth from that. So I don't know. I'm not sure because then on the flip side, you could say, okay, well, the viewers all go and buy the game or whatever. You still have more actual players, even though the percentage is lower. So then your exponential, you still have like that core audience that came in from the videos that like the game and stick for the game. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Maybe I'll think about it. I'll run it through the subconscious for a week, and we'll see about it next week. In the meantime, you
Yeah.
got any other big projects you've been working on? Anything you want to shout out?
Nothing to send people to, but working on my next game, working on world building, and send people to Axe if they like tabletop RPGs. You should get Adventure Conquer King System, second edition when it comes out.
Yeah, I meant to work more on my tabletop, but I just haven't gotten around to it. I have done some world building though, and I did something mildly interesting. Because I designed the world a while back, uh, part of it anyway. But I designed it as a globe, and I thought, listen, this is a medieval fantasy story. Why not make it flat? And it's one of the reasons I'm convinced the flat Earth is bullshit. Because I tried to convert like a spherical world into like a flat world, and immediately everything
Mhm.
breaks.
Dude, I had that same exact thought. I was like, maybe I'll make it flat, and then I'm like, wait a second, should I deal with gravity being completely different the farther you go from the center? I don't know. Not really.
Yeah, everything just breaks in like weird ways. So like
Hmm.
one of the things like winds just how does wind work?
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
like you no longer have like the
Yeah.
Coriolis effect, and you're like, okay, well how do I work? And so I have
What's the Coriolis effect? Is that the hot air going up to the poles from the equator?
yeah. So the way the Earth spins is what sort of generates the winds and the tide,
Right,
and
right,
so
right.
the currents and whatnot. And that's all just gone now because the Earth it's not a globe. It can't spin like that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I figured like, well, let's just try it for a bit and see what we get. Right? Maybe we can do something cool with it. And so there's like a bunch of weird workarounds. So how it functions now is that like everything's the whole plane is spinning, right? And so that causes like I don't know if you've ever like spun a glass around, but the water just sort of stays where it is. And so it sort of works is like there isn't actually any like wind or force pushing anything forward. It's just all the wind and the water is staying in place, and everything else is spinning around it.
Hmm.
And that's sort of when I'm trying to. And it's like very weird. And like, okay, well, what are some of the? But it's like a fun thing to explore. I think I might ditch it because there's like some weird stuff in it. So like it ends up being here's something interesting because the sun sort of rotates around and close to the center. The north is the really really hot part, and then the further away you get
Mm,
from the rotating sun, the further south you go, it gets colder, which is like the
right.
opposite of every sort of northern hemisphere story. So all the Vikings are from the south.
So that is if it's a flat world?
Well, it would depend on how you do your sun, right? So like in uh flat models of Earth, the sun goes around in like in a circle that would be like the equator. So the equator is like a giant circle, and it goes around, and then as you get further away from the sun, it gets colder. So it's cold at the north and the south. Uh, which is one way you could do it. I did a thing where the sun overlaps in its own route. So so there is like an area of the planet that always has the sun, like on the North or South Pole, right? How they'll have like sun for 5 months nonstop, or like 6 months nonstop, and then it's off for 6 months. And so this very center of the place is like all fucking desert because it's just constantly being pelted. And then and that goes to sort of and then there's like a middle part where it's like
Over the
constantly
longest
hot. And so basically that's the way you would do it. If you wanted to do like a cold north, you would have to move your sun away from the center. And so you would get like the issue with doing the flat earth model where it's like a ring around and then the center is out is that the sun because of the way it works, it would become really problematic because the closer you get to the center, the shorter the distance the sunlight, the shorter the circle is, right? So like on a racetrack, the outside's the longest time around, and the inside's the shortest time around. So if you did something like that, you would get more sunlight time. Like the days would be longer and shorter, or the days would be shorter and the nights would be shorter too. And maybe that balances it out. I haven't actually explored it too deeply. But there'd be a difference in like the closer you are, you would get more sunlight because the sun would wrap back around faster. Whereas on the outside, it would take longer for the sun to travel back around to you. Right? Like a record
Yeah,
spinning.
but you also don't have the curvature, right? You get there's no horizon. You get the once the sun comes back from underneath the bottom of the world, you instantly get sun. Maybe maybe like a little bit less of its.
Uh it's like a ball, like it's literally like a flashlight, and then there's when you flash a flashlight there's like a circle of light,
Mhm.
and so it just moves like that. And so it just goes from there isn't like a sunrise or a sunset. Well, there wouldn't be. It would just sort of bleed into day and then bleed out of day. And then you got to
Oh,
figure out how the
okay. So
fucking
it's a
moon
fixed
works. I
sun.
haven't even touched the moon
So
yet.
the sun would be fixed and it would just stay there and turn on and off.
Uh, so how it works currently practically in this attempt is the sun remains fixed in the sky and the land is spinning. So you are actually moving away from the sun.
Okay.
Which is like actually that might mean that the actually that's kind of interesting because now that I'm thinking about it, the nights would be like 3 times as long as the daytime because the daylight only takes up about a quarter of the map. And so if you're at the edges, the further out you go, the longer night will be. until you get to the very end, which is eternally night. Which actually is a kind of interesting idea. If that were the case, you'd probably get more productive civilizations closer to the center and less productive civilizations.
Yep.
Maybe I should just go back to Sphere. Maybe we'll see. We'll see.
Return, reject modernity, embrace tradition.
Yeah, I have not been working on the model. I like put a brief one together and thought maybe. Um, one of the cool things about doing like massive world building projects is you can just go back and change stuff and do whatever you want and just completely revamp things. All right, there's no like time
Yeah.
limit. I don't need this done by any time, so I can just keep doing new stuff and just exercising creative ideas. I've been working on mostly what I've been doing is architecture. I'm designing
Oh, nice.
architecture for
Cool.
different civilizations. Um, and part of the problem is like you'll go back. It's like, oh, we have. I want to see what this like this Neolithic culture's like. He's like, oh, we got. Here's all the information we got. They got pots. Okay, what else do we got? What else do we got from this ancient civilization? They had some holes in the ground we think they used for their buildings. Okay, what do their buildings look like? Something with holes in the ground. Like that does not fucking help. We think they either had a basement or a second or a second story. I'm like, those are opposite directions. Okay, pick one. Uh,
Well, you got like I think the way to think about it is just like what conditions do, and the easiest way to deal with dragons is to dig holes, and so they create these mounds, and so the first castles are literally just like mounds.
yeah, that's a pretty good idea. I've done two so far. Um, one is like sort of an ancient Greek analogous sort of civilization. It's like a Mediterranean civilization that build like these giant labyrinthian cities. How as I've developed more and more, outside gets more and more dangerous, and so they've started building. So I'm looking these civilizations are going to have like really closed off sort of cities to prevent everything else from getting in. Uh, and then like the elvish stuff is kind of interesting. Um, I can probably send you. I don't think I took a picture, but they have like these giant towers with like these flower petals at the top that catch rainwater, and then it gets filtered down the tower, and that's how they get like their water. And then crystals have sort of become a magical catch-all. They function essentially like batteries, and so at the very
Mhm.
top of the tower they have a lightning rod, and that's they capture lightning and store it in their crystals and whatnot. And that's how they get power before everything
Oh,
collapses.
okay, okay. So this is the prehistory sort of time.
Yeah, I'm sort of making them like the Roman Empire. Everyone harkens back to them as like this great era and whatnot. And to be fair, um, or I guess not to be fair, but that like it gets overblown a lot, especially in like the medieval age, where like there's this concept of the Romans were actually more advanced, and it's like the Romans were like they were really good at what they did, and they were really advanced for their time, but like tech moves on.
It finds a way.
And I mean, there's still there's like a really interesting sort of archetype, monomyth, sort of archetypal story of like the lost technology that was like super powerful, and if we could find it again and unlock it, it'd help us. Like this is the Atlantean myth, um, and you notice specifically with the myth of Atlantis that every time people talk about the Atlantean myth, like the conspiracy theorists or whatever, their technology always advances to whatever the current big tech thing is. So like now they're talking about the
Oh,
Atlanteans having like batteries and forms of like computers and stuff. Whereas like no one in the Middle Ages were talking about that. They were talking about like these advanced like metalworks and this advanced stonemasonry and whatnot. But they just put whatever is like the advanced ideas of the day and just overlay that onto Atlantis.
mm. So it's like medieval people invent like Gothic archways, and it's like the Atlanteans must have had super really big archways.
Yeah, yeah, basically. Um, but yeah, because the descriptor is they're just advanced, and people put their idea of advanced on top, and Atlantis just gets more and more advanced. The was it DreamWorks that did the Atlantis animated film? Is like a really good example of this, where like it's very much ships and these different like weird crystal medicines and stuff, which sort of makes sense for the time the story is set, right? Like aircraft is being developed, right? Not in terms of when they made it, but when the story takes place. So, and yeah, what's everyone in alchemy? Who's everyone citing? Aristotle. He's really old. Ah,
Hmm.
but Aristotle's wrong, and I can prove it. I have Hermes, the even older Egyptian alchemist. He's way older. He knows the truth. But yeah, it's a very and even you see it with I think the idea is also very much popularized, especially in fantasy, by everyone's favorite J.R.R. Tolkien, Gerald Randall Tolkien himself.
I thought it was Rolking Tolkien.
I just think of oh there's a great channel, I can't remember now what it's called, but it's a character. Some guy goes up and does a character, and it's funny. Uh, and one of them was Gerald Randall Tolkien talking to his editors because he's really mad that the editors took out all the milk parts in The Hobbit. How do they get it out? You pull one narrative thread, it all falls apart. How do they escape the Balrog? He's slipping and sliding on all the Hobbit milk.
Oh my gosh.
You cut the fourth book of the Lord of the Rings, The Legend of the Frog. And there's this great bit where he's like looking, and it's this character that's being mocked. And he's like, "I'm sorry, it's not Tolkien-esque. You're gonna tell Gerald Randall Tolkien that my work is not Tolkien-esque." It's a very funny bit, but it's a very common theme in his work, right? Like Gondor is the White City that Aragorn returns to, and it's the big capital, and it's like this huge city with this giant thing. But Gondor is actually the second Gondor. The first Gondor was even big, the Minas Tirith is actually the second Minas Tirith. The first Minas Tirith was even better, way bigger. Current Minas Tirith doesn't even compare to old Minas Tirith. They're like, this is a decent city, and old Minas Tirith is gone. Let's rename it so we can recapture some of that splendor. If you went to someone who was from Minas Tirith, they're like, it's shit, Minas Tirith is the best city.
Right.
And then some elf would walk in and is like, what the fuck are you talking about? This Minas Tirith, this white city. You've clearly never been to Gondolin, the greatest of the cities. And then some
Yeah.
other elf would walk in like, Gondolin? You've clearly never been to Valinor.
Yeah.
Right? So it's very, and I think it has to do with the particular time period as well. Like there was a few thinkers who like had this sort of society degrades over time idea, which it's probably, it's not true, but it's not necessarily like a wrong observation. What I think is probably really happening is cultures develop in certain times and places, and these ideas develop in times and places. And as we continue forward in society, these old ideas become no longer tenable for various reasons. And you're essentially required to change into this new sort of society. And there's like a mourning for the loss of that old sort of style. And it's not that it was there's what's the term? A nostalgic feel for it as well. Especially because it's where we set a lot of our narratives. Most of our stories are things that have already happened, not things that are or will happen. Because we don't quite know how those end. Though, people will do sort of things. And we'll come up with ways. But we have these sort of old stories And so the loss of these things that we would like but aren't really tenable is probably part of it. As well, like when we think about stories often feature like meta narratives that aren't quite accurate to real life. Right? So but such is the way things are. But we're not here to talk about those. I don't want to get caught in the same trap we did last time where we only did like 2 minutes of Arcane. So I think maybe
Yeah,
we should get started. What do you think?
maybe it's time to watch Arcane. Yeah.
All right, this
But-
is
Sorry.
no, it's all good. This is the last big scene of the show. We have the tea party. And Andrew, there's something very important that I've asked you to remember throughout watching this. Remember what it is? Do you remember what the most important thing everyone who's watching has to remember is, Andrew?
Yes. Should I say it?
Mm-hmm.
I had to remember this whole time, this year-long journey or more. I had to remember the one important thing, which is that Silco really likes rocket launchers. I mean, Silco really likes fish.
Like sharks. It's very important.
Shark.
And I think this is my favorite thing from this whole series. I was like, Silco really likes sharks. It's real important. Like, and you were like, okay. And then you watch, and like, this is fucking bullshit. And like, no, I promise. All right, let's see what happened. So first off, we got this image here. Do you recognize this, Andrew? Do you know what this is?
Max, I still don't have the teleparty link.
Oopsie doopsie.
You said you'd start the stream and then send it.
Oopsie doopsie.
It's okay. I'll describe it in my mind's eye.
Go to my mind palace.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's see what I remember.
I
wait,
put it in
you
the
sent
wrong
it.
one.
Okay.
Oopsie doopsie.
Okay, no worries. No worries.
I use oopsie
Now,
doopsie a lot now. The kids love oopsie doopsie.
oh yeah, in your teaching.
Yeah.
Nice. Every time I join it starts off playing. Should I pause it?
Well, it's paused for me.
Oh, wait, okay, I think
Okay. Let me do this. All right, here we go.
okay. Yeah, we're saying it's cool.
Good. All right. So, is everything looking good on my end? Everything looks fine. Here we go. So, last time we had a bit of a kerfuffle with I guess sorry, Vi had a bit of a kerfuffle with Savika, and then her wonderful sister came and picked her up and brought her back with only the best of intentions to help her sister, I am sure.
Yeah, totally.
And now she's waking up here, and let me see if I can get. Oh, whoopsie doopsie. Do you recognize? Oh, what the? Right. Do you remember what? Do you know what this is, Andrew? Do you recognize this?
That is the. Isn't that like the Hex Tech thing? It's like her version of. Oh no! That's the Valdiani thing, right? The thing that she found that she knew what it was. When
Yes.
they went to this thing.
Yes, from the first episode.
Yeah.
The last big event that she and Vi did together.
Hmm.
Hmm. Do you have audio?
Yes, I do.
I do not have audio.
What?
Why don't I have audio? Okay. You want to try saying something for me real quick? Make sure it doesn't blast my eardrums out.
Sure. Yep, I'm trying to say something real quick, and that was that.
Okay, so just
Working?
it is, but my Discord audio is just fucked for some
Oh,
reason. Let me go device,
my goodness.
voice and video. Let me just turn you down to like 30%. All right, close enough. You want to try saying something now?
Alright, I will try to say something once again, and that is that.
All right, that's not bad. How's this? Yeah, that's better. Actually, open volume mixer. Oh, that's why. That's why. My Google's on basically fucking mute. Okay, I'll put this back to 100. Exit out of that. There we go. Everything should be good now. All right,
Nice.
I will turn this down a little bit. So, what's your thoughts on that line? I'm kind of meh on it.
It has to do with her like seeing Milo and whatever. I think that was my impression. But
You know, I'm not
oh,
actually.
you know what?
Sure, go for it.
Like haunt her in her nightmares and stuff.
Yeah, you know, that's actually a pretty decent. I didn't really think of that. You know, what? I'm warming up to the line now.
Yeah, but at the same time, I'm not sure about that because we've only ever seen her remember Milo. We've never seen her remember anyone else. But I think that could be like a conclusion that you would draw
Yeah,
from that line.
I think what's happening is because we've seen like sort of conversations where she's talking to the doll representations,
Hmm.
and I think the Milo is like it represents like her negative thoughts, and Clegor represents her positive thoughts, and she just doesn't have a lot of positive thoughts anymore, and so that's why he's not as apparent. Because we have that scene where like she's talking
Yeah.
to the big Milo doll and the small Clegor doll, which also you know we have that reversal of how they were in real life as
Yes.
representations. And every time we don't hear what they say, but every time she comes back from the Milo, she's something. It's a bit more negative, and every time she comes back from the Clegor, it's a little bit more positive. So that's what I think's probably happening, and
Hmm.
that also sets up Vi has come back, and that sets up for the end shot, uh, where we'll I guess we'll talk about where we get there, but not there's going to be another one who comes back, and then we have Vander probably coming back as Warwick in the second season. So
Yeah, did you see the trailer thing?
I have not. I refuse to watch ever since the Yu-Gi-Oh movie, Andrew. I don't
Oh.
watch trailers. I watched the Light of Pyramid trailer. It's actually two movies. It was the Light of Pyramid, the Yu-Gi-Oh movie, and Jennifer's Body. And after watching those trailers and then seeing the movies and being so disappointed in both of them, I refuse to watch trailers anymore. Never again. If it's good enough to put in the
You know what?
trailer,
Fair enough.
that's good enough to watch in the movie. Okay. Games are a bit different because we're looking at gameplay. I watch the gameplay trailers. I hate the cinematic trailers.
Oh yeah, cinematic trailers are so stupid.
It's
Just the concept of them is stupid. It's like here's a story that isn't really all that related to the game. That was Halo 5's plague. I'm sure it's a thing that happened before and after many times, but Halo 5 is the one that really sticks with me because I was so hyped when they showed Master Chief, traversing the desert with his poncho and he's holding the Cortana chip and then the massive like mythic level ancient machine rises up and it's like my goodness, this is like good old like mythic and stuff and so like powerful and cool. And then they delayed Halo 5 for a bunch, and that was enough time for me to stop caring. And then by the time I heard about it, I was like, okay, they got this Locke guy, Agent Locke and whatever, and like I don't care about any of this. And Master Chief has his team, his friends, which is like the same thing as like Ah, yes, Order 66 was actually just Suggestion 66. And also the Jedi are alive, and also the Spartans are alive, and
Did you read?
consequences, who needs them?
Did you read the fucking interview he did? I think it was the creative director or whoever it was about Halo 5. He said
No.
this is almost a direct quote. I can't remember it exactly, but it's paraphrased very closely. He said he didn't realize that the great bit. He's like, how if I take this picture of Halo 3, the cover, to my grandma and ask her who she is, you know what she'll tell me? That's the Halo
Yeah,
guy.
yeah,
How is it
yeah.
my grandma knows more about this fucking game than the goddamn director?
No, I get where he's sort of, well, okay, without any context, my assumption there is like Halo is about the world, about the lore, and about the characters that kind of surround Chief, because Chief is kind of this stone cold legend, this blank slate sort of guy. Um, and I think that's the wrong take, but I think it's something that a lot of people around whoever that there was definitely like a bunch of people who would say that. Um, and I think that it's not true because I think Master Chief is very much like this. I was actually thinking about this today. What's so special about Halo? And I think Master Chief is like a mythic hero. I think he's like a like not that I know anything at all about mythology, but like sure you don't know about like his feelings and his emotions, from face to like his face and what he's going through and whatever, but you see the decisions he makes and you see how willing he is to do basically the impossible. Jump from the space station into an alien ship to throw the bomb in there and whatever else. It's like he, his I don't know what it is necessarily, like what quality it is. Maybe it's just like the bravery or whatever. Like there's something to it. There's something kind of.
Yeah, I think the more
It's not
technical
like someone
term,
that.
the more technical
Yeah.
term you're probably looking for is he represents the American mythical archetype of the hero, right? Because different societies are going to have different archetypes. A Greek hero is going to be very different, but Master Chief is sort of like the Superman archetype, right? He can do the impossible, and he does it through competence and skill, and he demonstrates the values that are sort of important, especially to sort of I wouldn't. Demonstrates a lot of those militaristic values, like loyalty,
Yeah.
uh, high
Well,
competence. High competence is a big one, right? Like think about any time you hear about like an American war hero, it's always like here's all the insane shit they did, right? And to be fair, that's
yeah.
probably the same across all mythic hero archetypes, right? Like Heracles is the big Greek one, and he does a lot of insane shit. It's one of the big ones, but there's a lot of a concept like he's loyal, uh, and he's willing to he helps people in need. He's very decisive. That's another big one, right? He's not like
Yes.
the sort of the
It,
man of
it, you know.
thoughts of the Elizabethan, like the Shakespearean age, where he's like debating, like, oh, what should I do? Should I go fight this?
Yes.
No, he's very
Yes.
decisive. He's a man of
Yeah.
action.
And you know what? Actually, now that you mention American hero archetype, that makes sense because it's similar to uh, the guy from Die Hard, Bruce Willis. Is it John McClane or
Yes,
John
John
McCain? I don't
McClane.
know. One of them's a senator, one of them's a movie guy.
Yeah, no, John
Um,
McClane is correct. Die Hard, the
okay,
best
cool.
Christmas movie. Fight me.
And that's so excellent because he's just some dude who doesn't even necessarily have like the highest level of skill. He's not a super spy or even like a SWAT guy. He's just a cop. Um, and he's gonna like do what needs to be done when you know the terrorists or whatever have made sure that no one will know about the operation, whatever. Um, Master Chief is like a Spartan, but he is not. He's like his thing was luck or whatever, like which I don't know if that makes sense or not, but he's in lore not the strongest or whatever. Um, And this idea that like you're gonna be the hero, but then they're just gonna scratch your number onto the tombstone or whatever onto the memorial, and meanwhile you're gonna go into hibernation. No one's gonna remember you except for the few people that were actually there to see it. And that sort of idea that it's like, yeah, I'm doing all of this because it has to be done. I don't care if I'm remembered or not. I'm here if you like, wake me if you need me. Um, and then,
And this is
yeah,
also like I'm not sure, but like in terms of world history, is also something pretty specific to like the American archetype, right? Like the commentary, right? Talking about if you're like a veteran, and this is probably similar in a lot of modern militaries as well. You go over, you fight for your country. Rambo has this great one of the Rambo movies has this great thing where like he comes back, he's like, I was in charge of $1 million equipment. Now I can't even hold down a fucking job at the goddamn Burger King or whatever. Right? There's this idea of and it's common like among vets where they go over and sacrifice for the country and they come back and you go and you serve your time, right? First you have to buy into it, right? So you buy your own equipment and then you join. But at the end of it, usually you get like they give you a lance. That's the reward. You're like you get to go live on
Mhm.
you get to go down to the farm, except instead of shooting you like a dog, it's an actual farm. This was one of the big things with Julius Caesar. Like part of his deal with his legionaries was he would like here's all the shit you're getting when we're done, and this is part of why they mutinied, because they're like we were supposed to get this shit like 3 years ago, and you're talking about
Mm.
going to fucking Africa with us, right? And then like in like you get into sort of medieval literature, right? Like in the medieval period, like if we're talking about like the big, it's going to be stuff like the Crusades, right? Literally, you go crusade and then you go to heaven,
Yeah.
right? That's like a pretty. It's unironically the greatest deal. There's a great line in the Warhammer Total War games where Balthazar Gelt
Okay.
is about to lead his host against the undead, and basically he has this really killer line where he's like, I will make assure you uh entry into Moore's Field or something like that, which is like their equivalent of heaven. Um, he's going to grab these things, and he's like, "This is the most valuable reward, even more than gold, for the fate of your soul is an eternal concern." Which is like a really
Hmm.
good line. Like he's right. Like if you're one of those if you're like if you have the choice between like literally God comes down and says, I can give you one of two things. I can guarantee you entrance into heaven, or literally infinite money. You always take heaven. It's the better deal. It's way better than literally infinite money. So there is a big reward at the end of the Crusades, or like in like these sagas, there's like this personal element to it. Like this person killed my father, and so that's why I have to go to war with him. Or this person has
Right.
kidnapped and forcibly married my mother. And then when you get into sort of the American sort of soldier heroes, and like I'm using American as sort of a general term, what I really mean is sort of the Western soldier. Uh,
Sure.
they go and they fight and they put everything online, and there's like this whole list of this insane shit they do, and they come back and there's like two things that really like boggle the mind. Like if you're a Greek hero and you're like a foot soldier in the army and you do a bunch of insane shit, you get to be general. That's just how it works. Because everyone follows you. There's a personality associated with it. Whereas like you hear
Right.
these stories about this insane, and then you look up their rank and they're like captain or like sergeant. It's like that doesn't seem. And then they come back and then like they're fucking on the streets doing heroin. It's
Mm.
which I think is sort of what this is reflecting. And there's probably also a bit coming out of like Master Chief is probably a bit of a harkening back to that old style of main character. Because like very early main characters were a bit blank slatey. Um, blank slate's not the correct term. Um,
Yeah, no, I don't think I think blank slate is kind of a stupid term
right. I
because
think
blank slate to me is like
I think probably the term might be
you learn about him based on the things he does.
yeah. I'm trying to think what the term is because
You
Like the
can't.
term,
It's he's not like a self insert. A blank slate to me is like a self insert, or like Elder Scrolls. You can be anyone you want. Um, you
yes,
can't be. You can't be like
there is a character to
I
characters
I
like
can't
this.
put myself into Master Chief if I'm like 13 or whatever in like elementary school, and I'm like I eat junk food and I sit around playing video games. I'm not Master Chief. I'm not inserting myself into the character. I'm I'm wearing the character, right? It's like
Yeah,
it makes you rise up and imagine yourself in the role of a hero rather than
I,
being someone that you put your own vision into. I think didn't we talk about this exact idea?
I think we did. I think the term I would
Yeah,
look for is morally incomplex, which
sure.
sounds a bit dismissive. It's not quite what I mean. When I think of like, so I'm comparing to like the Greek heroic archetype, and they like very. And here's a great way to explain it, from my uh, Greek mythology professor. He talked about like morally complex and what do we really mean like that? And they said one of a character who would be a really great Greek hero is Darth Vader, who's
Mm.
like the villain of the story, but he's completely right. Right? This is why this is something that's a little shocking to people. When I say my favorite Greek hero is Minos. Do you know who Minos is, Andrew?
No idea.
Do you know
Is
who
he
the
like a
Minotaur
conqueror?
is? The
Yes. Well, I know
Minotaur.
what a minotaur is.
Well, so in Greek mythology, it's the Minotaur. There's only one. They're not in modern fantasy. There's one Minotaur, and he's the son-in-law of King Minos. Minos is the guy who's going over to Athens and taking all the people back to feed the Minotaur. He is the main villain of the Theseus story. But Minos is a hero. He has his own heroic tradition, he has his own stories, and he is one of the three judges of the dead in the afterlife.
Huh.
So he's very much like this, and that's where sort of this is sort of what they mean by complexity. These are very imperfect people. Um,
Mhm.
like Minos is my favorite because he's one of the few, he's like one of the only characters who has like a strict moral code that he adheres to. And this is why he has the whole Minotaur thing, because the Minotaur is technically his son-in-law, and Minos is a hyper tribalist. In fact, the Minotaur is actually the offspring of his wife and like a magical bull. So he gets cucked and has this son-in-law, but he's like, technically speaking, this Minotaur is in the tribe, therefore I have to do what I can to help him. Right? He's a hyper tribalist. Um, but Darth Vader is like a really good example too, because he is this sort of this character who, so he has like the heroic elements, right? He is like this, he has this demigod power, right? He pursues his own sense of justice and goals. Though obviously we would say he's corrupted and whatnot. But that's also not super uncommon, these sort of heroes that are corrupted by these other sorts of emotions. Um, like Jason's a pretty great example too. Like he has this whole thing. It's the Argonauts, where they all get on the ship together. They go and sail. They get the Golden Fleece. They come back, and they get there. And when he's supposed to get the kingdom, because he brought the fleece, and he's like, "Well, I have all these heroes," and all the heroes say, "Well, we just signed up for the fleece. You're on your own, buddy." And he goes to like this other city, where he becomes like the second in command for this other king, and then leaves his wife to marry this other girl. And his wife is like this magical, powerful sorceress, so she just fucking meteorite strikes the goddamn city from orbit, kills all their kids, and runs off somewhere.
Oh my gosh.
Right? You're right. And like Jason, on one hand, is like a real piece of shit for like abandoning his wife. Uh, and his wife's a piece of shit for murdering their kids. And Jason ends up, his story ends with him like this homeless guy living on a boat, telling stories for money, and the boat breaks and kills him. It's like they're all like tragic endings. This is actually super important in the Greek heroic archetype. All of them have tragic endings. And if I were to guess, I think it's probably like they have this such glamorous life and this high-powered life that the tragedy at the end sort of balances it out. I would guess that's probably what's happening. But yeah, every Greek hero ends horribly. None of them have good endings. So
Dang.
yeah. But
Sounds like hard knock life.
right. But what I'm saying is, I think Master Chief comes from this tradition of these sort of morally uncomplex characters. It's like Master Chief is like aliens are coming and they're killing everyone. I'm going to stand up and I'm going to help and I'm going to save the humans. Right? It's not super complicated. It's very easy. It's very easy to get into that headspace. It's like I'm going to help others. I'm going to save humanity. And then I'm going to do that highly confidently. Right? He's very similar to another. He is the Halo guy, and there's another similar character called the Doom guy. Demons have shown
Yes.
up. They're going to kill everyone. The difference is between like Doom guy and Halo guy is Halo guy sort of represents like the selflessness of and sacrifice for others, and Doom guy is just one big angry boy, just an angry boy. And Wolfenstein, probably to some extent, is the same, right? Except it's just Nazis, who are basically just monsters, right? Like in real life, like the Nazis, like an individual Nazi is probably like a morally complex character. But when we portray them in media, they're just bad guys who want to concentration camp everybody. And to be fair, if you were going to pick one group to be the representation of human monsters, you couldn't you couldn't do much better than picking the Nazis. I don't know. I don't know how to tell you this, Andrew, but the more I learn about this Hitler fella, the more I think he was a real jerk. Seemed like a not nice sort of person. But generally, like they're a great like they're bad guys who want to hurt everyone. And we're getting into games I don't really know as well. I imagine Duke Nukem's probably similar, but it's like more fun and it's more comedic and more focused on like uh sort of like a fratty bro kind of hero. But yeah, they're very different than sort of the issue is, I think, especially with video games, is in order to have a character who is morally complex, it has to be a sort of story that allows for choice. Because the problem you'll run into is if you have a hero who is sort of morally complicated as your main character, you'll run into ludonarrative dissonance, where you'll have these characters who will do stuff because it's their character that's going to sort of have friction between what the player wants to do and what the character is doing. Like The Last of Us is probably the best example of that, where no one wants to fucking play Abby because everyone hates Abby.
Right. Yeah.
I think Red Dead 2 had like a scene where Arthur kicks out with this doctor guy, and that was like when I played it was a very bit ludo narrative dissonancy. I'm like, I'm playing Arthur as like as a hardcore tribalist. What's going on here? He believes in the vision, but you know. So I think the in order to do sort of a morally complex character like that who is flawed, it has to be flaws that are opted into by the player, and that requires them to have choice options, like in like the Elder Scrolls games, or like a lot of the D&D style games, uh, or like my favorite game, Disco Elysium. But but yeah, I'm not sure how we got to here. Probably watch some more
Indeed.
Arcane, unless there was anything you wanted to add before we
Good.
start.
No, let's do Arcane. Let's do it.
All right. I like the set design. Oh, oopsie doopsie. I like a lot of the set design. There's a lot of purples and a lot of that viney purple, which sort of hints at where they are. Uh, I don't think they. I'm not sure they ever explicitly say they're at the can factory. Um, but I think it's supposed to be implied that they're at the can factory. Um,
The Can Factory?
yeah, from episode 3, the repurposed can factory. that they were using to produce Shimmer, where she sets off the monkey bombs.
Oh, okay, sure.
Right? I believe that's where they are. Oh, they do. I think she has a line where she says, "This is where Silco shot Vander," or something like that. But like I like the. In some ways, it's the. I think it's our friend the pathetic fallacy again. We have all this, um, these creeping vines of Shimmer sort of infecting everything around them, much like how the Shimmer drug has been infecting and is now really fucking with Powder's mind. Not Jinx yet. Not yet. Almost. But I think that's part of the representation. And then even the chair's purple. Yeah. You know who really made Jinx? I don't think. Like, I see it from her perspective, right? She's like, part of it is because Vi is in, like, this headspace where, like, Powder is being hypno-controlled by Silco and his beautiful eyes, or whatever it is. And Powder's underneath, and so she's been brainwashed. She's a Cyberman, and so I need to break. I need to go full Alex Jones and break the conditioning. Quick, Jinx,
Well, I mean,
eat this
it's
brain
it's
force and drink some bone broth. You haven't been drinking
not,
the water, Jinx. They put fluoride in it.
to give Vi a non-strongman defense. She, she
Silco
was
put
in
Shimmer
the
in the
prison and
water
stuff.
to turn the freaking Vi gay.
Hey, Alex Jones turned out to be right on a few things, didn't he? Vi certainly did. I don't know, maybe not. But anyways, what I was trying to say was that she was in prison for a crap ton of time, and she, we've talked all about how she last saw Jinx, how she last remembered her, and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the truth is that Silco did, manipulate over raising her. He did manipulate her. He convinced her that, um, Vander was like whatever it was, like weak or whatever, and that she should, they should commit various evil acts of terrorism against Piltover to get what they want. And sure, Vi doesn't understand the full extent of time. Um, but it's true that it was a wicked manipulation.
I mean, I can see. So I'd probably feel Silco is decently manipulative. I think we can reasonably conclude some manipulation has occurred.
Well, he's super sly, and now he's got a 6-year-old to deal, or however old she was, 9 or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
It
And
would be like if I don't know who's like Joel Osteen's too normie, who's like a cult leader, like I don't, not necessarily a cult leader, but like if the leader of the Sicilian mafia or whatever like adopted some 9-year-old girl and turned her into an assassin.
yeah. And the Sicilian mafia is decently religious, not too far off. Um though religious in the most ironic way.
It's super weird. I think they do things like they'll have a priest with them. Or wait, hold on. Did we talk about this or did I talk about this with someone else?
We did.
Maybe it was you.
It was a show.
You told me this.
Yeah, there was a
Did you tell
show
me this?
where they
Yeah, yeah,
brought a
yeah.
priest to absolve them
They
of their
brought a
sins
priest right
as they're
before.
killing
Yeah,
people.
yeah. Which is so like, gross. My goodness.
Straight to hell. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200.
No. Do not pass the altar. Do not collect communion.
Straight to hell. Do not pass purgatory. Do not collect. Uh, is purgatory still canon? I'm a little
Oh yeah,
confused.
of
Okay.
course, of course. Yep.
All right. Yeah, I guess. And I think Jinx is like, no, this is just who I am. Or sorry, Powder saying,
Yeah.
no, this is just who I am. Stop blaming it on Silco. And even if we grant her that it is entirely this is just who Powder is now. However she got there. This is just who she is now. And there isn't like this there's not going to be this fucking trash tier anime moment where she's like, Jinx, you gotta remember Vander, Jinx. And Jinx goes, oh my god, I am a good guy now.
I forgot about.
Right? This
How could I have forgotten about Vander?
how could I have forgotten? Like the fucking what Aaron had the great line about he's losing the fight, then he goes, oh, my sister, I forgot about my sister. And then he wins.
No way.
And like there is probably something, like there's probably, usually they tend to be like, there can be these moments where someone acts against their character because of these sort of previous things, but those scenes usually work because they've sort of built up these interactions over like a long period of time. So like an archetypical example is like someone who's like super cowardly or whatever, who like will go on a journey with this group of people, and they'll constantly like run away from the fight, and then like the one time it's important, they will make this they'll decide to like face their fears because throughout this entire journey the people they've cared about have always done it for them. An actual good example of this is Usopp during the Fisherman Island arc. Usopp is in One Piece. He's this very cowardly character who never wants to fight, and he's always like running. And then this one time, like their friend is in real trouble, and he's like, "Okay, I guess I have to fucking fight this guy." And he fights like their third rank general. And he like pulls all of his dumb fucking tricks, and somehow it works. But yeah, there's like usually it works really well if it's as part of the decision making process, and not just like, oh, I thought of myself, now I'm like 10 times stronger.
Yeah.
Usopp is actually like this really is probably one of the most, it might be the best example of this. What's really interesting about him as a character is he'll have these moments where he has to, and he's not that he's getting powered up. It's just like he's collected these things over the course of the series and then finds ways to use them now that he's in those fights. So like there's a pretty good, like they go to this sky island and they have like these shells that can store things. It's just imagine it's magic. And so one of the things they can store in it are like these huge bursts of energy, these huge bursts of like force and wind and whatnot. And then like later in the series, he pulls that out during a fight because this is something he's acquired, and now he's like found an opportunity to use it. And so like there's moments like that can be really, really good in story writing. But generally these are things that are done gradually over a long period of time because you have to have that build up. Whereas if it's just like, think of your mom, ugh, suddenly I can lift twice as much. It's dumb.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, the person I would consider most responsible for Jinx, is Jinx. Listen, here we believe in personal accountability and responsibility.
100%.
And like, listen, we can say that there's surrounding circumstances that make things really difficult. Right? And it's the same in real life. Like if you grow up, like one of the biggest predictors for if you are a domestic abuse, right? If you're a person who's going to like a person who beats their kids or whatever, one of the big predictors of whether or not you're going to be that kind of whether or not a person is going to domestically abuse is were they domestically abused themselves, right? This is
Oh,
where the concept of like generational trauma comes from, and breaking the cycle. There was there was actually there was a point on this in I can't remember the movie now, but it was like a Christian movie that I saw your favorite Franciscan friar talk about.
oh no.
But they basically the part of it is the father's daughter is like murdered by this serial child murderer. I don't remember if he was like a rapist too or not. I can't remember. But the concept is he wants justice, and so this angel shows up and is like, okay, you get to be God and pass judgment. And so he sits there and he's like, okay, how do you pass judgment? He's like, oh, obviously straight to hell. And he's like, okay, well, hold on, what about his father? And like they go through how horrible his father was. And he's like, straight to hell. And it's like, well, here's this person you don't like who's not following the rules. Which one do we send to hell? And he's like, well, I don't want to send the people I care about to hell.
Was this the Shack by any chance?
It probably was. That sounds right.
Yeah. Yeah, listened to the audiobook with my parents. Like we'd listen to a chapter every night or whatever for a while. I remember enjoying it. I remember liking the movie less, but thinking that it was pretty decent. That concept I found quite interesting because it's like, yeah, how do you take on like an objective metric as like a person? Like it's like the idea of like in Job, like were you there to see the Leviathan or whatever, to move the cosmos into place? I don't remember any of the lines at all, but
Mhm.
that whole concept of like, yeah. Anyways, that's probably not where we were going with the
Well,
conversation.
it is a bit. Because the point I'm making is that people born in difficult circumstances are going to have a hard time. Actually, here's something interesting from a show that you won't like. Um,
Oh no.
it's Neil Gaiman's Good Omens, which is like basically the concept is um, there's like this demon and this angel, and basically the concept is they both are like friends with each other on Earth, and basically what happens is the demon is sent to like Earth to so basically to make evil, and the angel is sent to prevent evil, right? And so there's this big scene where they're like, "Here's all this evil stuff I did," and you're like, "Well, I've been running around undoing all your evil stuff." And he's like, "So literally, none of my evil. We're just undoing each other's work all the time." And there's like, "Yeah, well, let's just not bother then. Let's just not bother and report back that we're doing our jobs." And there's actually some really interesting like things from it. Like the angel is there, and he is waiting in prison during the French Revolution, and the demon comes over to save him. And he's like, "Did you do this?" And he's like, "Nah, humans did this all on their own."
Oh.
Fucking barbaric monsters, right? Which I thought was
Wow.
like a hilarious idea. That like everyone's like blaming the evil on like the demons and all the good on the angels, but in reality, it's just humans just being imperfect. But there's this great scene where they're talking about being poor, because basically the setup for this part of the story is they come across this young girl who is like digging up dead bodies. This is the Victorian age, and wheeling them off to the doctors, as was common in the time period, because the doctors always needed fresh corpses to do stuff with. And so obviously the angel does not like the fact that she's digging up bodies to sell to other people. And the demon, of course, is very much on the girl's side, and they have this interesting conversation about it, where the demon points out, "Well, hold on, listen. Look at her circumstances. It's going to be very hard for her to do the moral, righteous thing all the time when she's starving and has all these issues and whatnot. If you're like a rich person, it's very easy to do all the morally correct things because there's nothing on the line." And the angel's name I think is I can't remember now, but the angel makes a counter argument that I thought was super interesting. Where it's like, well, hold on, if you are making moral decisions that don't have any weight, they don't really count that much, right? Think of the lady in the temple. The rich person gives all the money, but she only gives the one. But Jesus says the one is more because it was everything she had, right? And so
Mhm.
he argues that if you're rich, or if you're like one of this privileged person, you only get like a couple of chances to really make the good decision, right? And if you fuck those up, you're fucked. But if you're like a poor, you get opportunities to do the right thing all the time.
Mm.
So really, it balances out. I'm like, oh, that's kind of an interesting idea, and does to some degree fit in line,
That is
right?
interesting.
The poor person giving a little bit is worth more. It's harder for a rich man, a camel to a rich. It's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to get into heaven,
Yeah.
right? I'm like, oh, that's kind of an interesting concept. Um, but how it sort of relates is I am sympathetic. I think everyone can be sympathetic to like people. Uh, Life be hard sometimes, and sometimes it be real hard.
Indeed.
But ultimately, the person responsible for the decisions you make is you. And we can point to society and we can say, well, these things were really fucked up, and they can be really fucked up, and they can, because of that, be worth changing, because it makes it so difficult to do the right thing under certain circumstances. But ultimately, uh, and this is a point for our least favorite philosopher, Foucault, because he makes this point. Ultimately, everyone, regardless of their circumstances, has free will, and because of that, they have choices. They may not be good choices. They may be awful choices. They might all be objectively bad choices for various reasons, but they are choices, and you're obligated to make the best choices. And so ultimately, as much as we can say, you know, Vi has responsibility and Silco has responsibility, and they probably do have some responsibility. The biggest person who made Jinx is none other than Jinx. Right? Like Echo talks about how she's changed. Like Echo's probably reached out to her at some point. I would be shocked
Yes.
if Echo is never like, hey, you should switch sides. That's a choice,
Yeah, for sure they did. For sure they did.
right? And it's a choice she made, and it's a choice she lives with, and she clearly stands by the choice. And this whole scene, literally this entire birthday part, this entire tea party is literally about making choices in like terrible circumstances. She tells Vi she needs to make a choice. Ultimately, it's Jinx who has to make a choice. Silco, coming into this, has made a choice, abandoning the thing he cared about, the thing he claimed to care about most for his daughter. This is all about choice, and they've all been terrible choices, but they're choices that you have to make nonetheless. I guess Caitlyn. No, even Caitlyn gets a choice. She has the choice to shoot or not shoot Jinx. Right? She holds him at gunpoint, and Vi's like, ah, don't shoot her, and she doesn't shoot her. So everyone in this scene gets a choice. Oh, this is an important line for later. Right?
Okay.
This is going to be an important line in a little bit towards the end. So just for the people who can't really hear it because we are muted on the show, uh, Vi is saying she's sorry for having left, but Jinx is saying, no, you were always there. You were the voice in the back of my head, picking me up and whatnot. So Vi has always sort
Yeah.
of been this guiding voice. This is going to be important later, and part of why I am right and unfortunately Andrew was wrong about Powder and Jinx. But
I'm 100% correct.
I have never been wrong about anything in my life. How dare you? Now let's.
No one is more correct than me.
I am the most correct. How do I know? I said I'm correct, and I'm always correct. But
Yeah, I figured it out.
but we'll talk about it when we get to that scene.
Yeah, you need to alter your genetic makeup.
Yeah, I think probably they're talking about in the more the figurative sense. Like,
I know, of course.
yeah. I just imagine like
You
she pulls out
pointed out.
actually you were adopted. That's why your hair color's different. Sorry to break it to you.
Based.
I like the dust particles they've added. It's a nice touch. And like one that didn't need to be there. Oh, and there's Milo and Colliger. Once again,
Nice.
which one's bigger and which one's smaller? I think this line also confused a lot of people. We talked about last time where I said I watched a number of people uh, think that Silco is actually intending to betray her in this scene, which is not the case, and very clearly not the case. But Jinx says that now. She's saying he definitely is, and so maybe that reinforces that belief, or maybe shifts what people are thinking, and people are already kind of primed against Silco. But I think this is right now her sort of internal delusions are have sort of taken control, and that's why she's going to sort of this ultimatum because it's like the ultimate demonstration, and so she can sort of it'll allow her to push those delusions away.
It's so spooky for Vi. It's like, what is going on?
Too spooky for me. It's about to get spookier.
Doubtless.
The spookiest. There's a lot of visual elements that really work up to this moment. That's really neat. Like when she sets it down, only Silco's head is in view, so it like reinforces this is perfectly head sized. And then see, it's like just her head that's in frame. Right?
Yeah,
Right.
100%. Like,
Everyone
what?
right,
Too.
no one ever says there's going to be a head there, but everyone's thinking it when she's pulling it off. It's because of those visual elements. You may not have noticed it, but your brain did.
Very ominous.
Mhm. And then I mentioned this earlier, that picture of Caitlyn or Cat. What's her name? What's her name again? It's Caitlyn.
Uh,
But is from when Vi and her are lying on the bed together, which is like the one moment Vi is being vulnerable with her, which reinforces this moment. She's very scared, and this is this moment of vulnerability. In conjunction with like this is a moment she feels very weak, like when you are vulnerable, and a moment that she's like high emotion as well. So it's a good choice. And even you can notice a slight trick is that her hands are in frame, so we know it's not just it's a split seconds, so it takes a moment for your brain to register it. But you can see like her arms and stuff.
Yes, yes. Wait, is Caitlyn even here though?
Yeah, that's her in the wheelchair.
Oh, okay.
I like the hex tech is the cherry on top. Literally.
Yeah.
I like how she drew a smiley face.
It's like reverse Joker. No, seriously. No, it's only the Jinx chair, 100%. Like, you've done all of this and you're gonna sit in the powder chair? Are you nuts? No.
I'm just thinking of that meme I sent. I think I sent it to you, where it's Powder or Jinx, and she's like, "I have never done anything wrong in my life." And I think this character has this internal conflict between who she is, this sort of idea of Powder, her Vi's sister, whom she loves, and yada yada yada, and Jinx, the perfect daughter of for Silco, and she's also torn between Silco and Vi. I imagine it'd be very difficult for them to all three live together, happy family. So this is why Jinx is giving her this choice, because Jinx, essentially, from her perspective, has to kill off some part of herself, right? She has to make a decision where either Powder is going to die here or Jinx is going, and she has to essentially kill off a part of herself, and then also literally would have to get rid of Silco too, because he'll be hunting them or whatnot. But I think it's more the metaphorical, like she has to kill someone off, and so if she's going to make this commitment, where she's like, "I'm going to kill off Jinx to be with you again," you have to demonstrate to me that you also have this level of commitment by killing off this piece of yourself, Caitlyn, by killing off this person. So we're making like this equal sacrifice. This is why she doesn't give the choice to Silco, because we know what Silco's going to pick. Like, he'd just kill Vi, no problem, and it's not right. The real choice he has to make is between her and and his dream, and she can't really have him shoot his dream. So this is why Vi's getting the choice. And so now, right, her internal delusions are saying, like, her internal voice is saying that neither of these people care about you. They're going to both betray you, and so she needs concrete proof that Vi will not betray her. And the best way to do that is to get rid of the possible source of that betrayal. And so from her sort of perspective, she is asking Vi to make an equal sacrifice to demonstrate that she won't betray Jinx later down the line. Right? Do you have anything you want to add or disagreements?
I mean that seems to make sense to me. I am not as I'm not as knowledgeable um about Jinx, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we see like when she's on the bridge, running back to Caitlyn, right? Before that, she's talking to them like she wouldn't do that, and then when she does run back, traitor. So there is clearly an element of feeling betrayed. But this choice is important because this is the criteria she sets up at the beginning of the story, right? This is essentially what she's saying. I can't be with both of you. So I want to be with the person who can prove to me that they do love me, and they have to prove this by sacrificing something of value to them. Right? Something of equal or greater value than I am sacrificing. Right? This test is important because this is what's going to ultimately make her decide which chair she's going to sit in. Because spoiler alert,
But what is it that she thinks that she's sacrificing?
she's sacrificing basically.
Wanting to do evil
Well,
stuff?
so what I how I'm
What
so there's
exactly is her value? What does she like about whatever it is that she does?
I think Jinx, this character is split between these two personalities, right? We have these moments where she's very much Jinx, and we have these moments where she still retains some of her powder-like qualities, especially when she's talking to
Sure.
V. So I think,
But what does Jinx want though? Like assuming the Jinx persona 100%, what does Jinx want? What's her goal?
um, Jinx, I think, really just wants Silco to like her. Right? I think Jinx is sort of, uh, I think Jinx is a lot like No Face from Spirited Away, right? She's lost everything, and
Oh.
so she's very hollow. And Silco, she's codependent on Silco. Silco sort of fills that need to be
Mm.
loved and appreciated. That's why when he tells her to work on her
So
own self for a little bit, that's when she goes fucking crazy and goes and robs the fucking Hex Tech because she wants that
is that
approval.
what she's is that what she's rejecting then? That's like her sacrifice is rejecting Silco then?
I think it's a combination of because Jinx, that's just sort of Jinx's end goal. She's also a lot like Zuko in that way, uh, with the Silco being the Fire Lord Ozen. But Jinx also has like a number of personality traits as well that sort of come with it, and like there's sort of the practical application. I think we can sort of take that out of the thought process. I don't think Jinx is really thinking about practically what that means, but there's sort of a character type that is Jinx and a character type that is Powder. Right? Jinx is going around. Being gay, do crime. No, but she's like doing crime. She's very violent. Um, and she's those are sort of the big elements. Um, whereas Powder was like doing crime, but it's like a different. Jinx is fine hurting people. Powder didn't really want to hurt people. Um, though I think like she does stuff that hurts people, but I don't think she really realizes the effects of what she's doing. I don't think she planned that far ahead as a child. But I think what's really happening is Jinx has like this narrative of what her and Silco are, and this idea of what who she has to be to fit into that life, right?
Sure, but all of that said, she's okay. She's still okay with kidnapping, threatening, scaring people, burning down buildings, shooting people, etc. Right?
Right.
Like
But I'm
she
saying
still made the decision that that's part of her moral belief that that's okay
right.
or
I'm
that she
saying
should be doing that.
if she sits in the powder chair, well, I think what she's
Yeah.
postulating is if she sits in the powder chair, that's all gone. She's no longer okay with those things,
Mm.
which is
And
not.
do you like is that what she thinks or is that what would actually happen? Like
I
she would
think
stop doing that.
I think that's what she thinks, but I don't think that's what would
Yeah,
happen. Right? Like a
sure.
lot of like literally every New Year's, I'm just going to be a gym guy now. I'm going to be a gym guy who goes to the gym. And like a month later, you're not a
hmm
gym guy,
hmm
right? And like there's a lot of these types of stories. I think Sopranos is about this about like because changing is really hard to change from like the person you are to this person you want to become. It's very very difficult and takes a lot of work and effort. But like the volition, the saying you're going to change is very easy.
Yeah.
And so this is part of the issue with her dilemma is Powder is like demanding this upfront cost on this promise that she can definitely do this and she cannot deliver on those promises.
hmm
Right? And she might seriously
Yeah, and
what it would probably happen, like if we were in the alternate universe, is that like if like something the problem is Vi shooting Caitlyn would be just so out of character. It would mess everything else up. But theoretically, if Powder walked out of here with Vi with the intent to change, we would probably have like a story where she's like constantly trying to change but keeps falling into bad habits because that's typically what happens. But from Jinx's perspective, right? She's just like this is the character I need to be for Silco. This is the character I need to be for Vi, and these two people are mutually incompatible. Right? She
mhm.
can't be, nice happy Powder who has a very strict moral code and is decent to other people and psychopathic killing machine. Right? So if she's going to
Yes.
leave with someone, some part of her personality has to die from her perspective, right? And this is going to be the most important thing. Jinx's position is that she, as she currently exists, cannot fill the role of being Jinx for Silco or the role of being Powder for Vi. This is literally the most important sentence of her character. She as she currently exists does not fill the role that either of them want her to fill. That is her thought and position, and this is what's going to determine who she's going to be later. But that's like the most important thing. So she has to change, from her perspective, change herself so that one of them will love her. Right? She either has to change to become Powder so that Vi will love her, or she has to change to become Jinx so that Silco will love her. And so she has to kill off a part of herself, and if she's going to make that choice, she needs some sort of assurance that that love is going to come. And so by killing Caitlyn, Vi is assuring Powder that by becoming this person, she will be loved. Right? This is that sort of framework informs. I'm not just pulling that out of nowhere. Everything else that happens in the scene fits within that framework. And that's why I'm saying it. Because it's going to be very important when she talks to Silco in a bit. All right, anything you want to add, or should we continue?
Now we can go ahead. She seemed to make the chair intentionally ominous too.
Yeah, there's probably elements of pathetic fallacy in there. It's an ominous scene, so they're making stuff ominous.
No, I know it's her plan. She wants to
Yeah.
make it super dramatic for sure.
Fucking
But also, did you notice
teenage
the crow
girls gotta
feathers?
make everything dramatic. Can't just go out to a field and kill your lover anymore. Now it's gotta be a whole fucking Saturday.
You know, make a whole story of it, post it on TikTok. Did you notice the crow feathers?
Yes, I did. Um, she's been associated with crows throughout the entire thing.
Yeah.
The problem
Yep.
is, I think we've talked about this, right? We have like an interpretation we can make using like historical symbolism of crows, but we know like in the greater legal lore, there is like the crows are special, and we don't have access to that information yet. So
Okay.
I don't want to make like a whole thing about it until we get a bit more. But yeah,
Sure.
the crows are connected to something big. I know that. I didn't look any further because I didn't want to be spoiled for the rest of the show, right?
Gotcha.
It is trade. I offer you powder. You give me dead Caitlyn.
Yeah. Yeah. It's absurd. It's completely absurd.
It is. It is very absurd. But I know someone who would make that deal. I know someone who would make that deal in the heartbeat. Do you know someone who would make? Silco would make that deal.
Oh well, yeah. It's not an issue for him.
It's like,
No, because he doesn't necessarily want powder. He would like.
Well, no, but I'm saying if she offered the
I-
inverse, right? If she said you can have Jinx, but you have to kill. I'm not even sure she needs to finish the sentence. You just pull out the gun. All right, who we doing?
Yeah, who are we killing?
Unironically, you know what the choice would be? Like the reverse of it. The closest reverse choice, like the correct reverse choice is he going to choose Powder or like Zon? But if you were to set up
Yes.
something like this, it would have to be like Savika.
What do you mean, like Savika? Oh, have Savika there to be
Yeah.
shot. Yeah.
Yeah.
He'd shoot Savika 100%.
Yeah, Savika. This is kind of the problem going into this deal, right? Vi is not willing to put up a lot of the upfront costs, but that is actually the
Yep.
minor problem.
It cut out right when you said Jinx, like for
Oh,
the
sorry.
most important line.
The most important, it's not the line from the show, but what I'm saying the most important thing in her psychology right now is she believes that she, as she currently exists, does not properly fulfill the roles that either of them want for them to love her. So Jinx isn't Jinx enough for Silco to love her, and she's not Powder enough for Vi to love her right now. That's her operating. This is the axiom she's operating under right now, and it's super important.
Yeah.
Remember this. It's actually more important than the shark thing to remember this axiom. So part of this is an interesting scene because we don't have access to what's being said inside her head. We only have her reactions to it.
Yeah, that's great. I don't want to like. We shouldn't hear what they say. I think.
Yeah, I think it's a great detail, and it's so now we have or Vi has rejected the deal. She said
Yes.
she said no deal, and has presented a counter offer.
Yeah. Exactly. I was gonna say that.
Right? Yeah. And so she's like, "Oh, we can go somewhere. We can just be alone, just the two of us. We can make it if." And actually, the wording. Let's go back and look at the wording again for 1 second. So the use of we is, or we can interpret Yumi and Caitlyn can go, which might be what's happening because she says it and she's like, "Oh, we're going to go," and then the voice might be saying something like she means Caitlyn too. We, the three of you, and she's like, she's not saying that.
Yeah.
Right? So there's some ambiguity. Right? And there's the first problem with that fucking. We'll never have to see him. She doesn't give a shit about not seeing him. She cares about not seeing Caitlyn. You got the wrong guy.
Yep.
Right? This counteroffer might have worked if she said, "You'll never have to see Caitlyn or him or anyone else from Zon again." Right? If she'd said something like that, suddenly we're cooking up something here.
We're cooking.
Right? But she didn't cook. She took it out of the oven. She said pre-presented it. She said, "Here, we're done. The dough has not risen yet. What are you doing?" And this Silco's seeing the weakness. He's seeing it. And he's like, might want to let me out here. He's seeing an option. He's seeing an opening. And she takes it. And this is, unironically, this is what we were saying earlier. She can't just change into the same powder she used to be. She's different.
Yeah.
And unlike, right, Vi's whole counteroffer is centered around, we'll do this thing together, and it's like a bit vague and it's unclear. And Silco is hitting like all the major fucking problems and appealing to the exact sort of axioms and frameworks she's working with. Vi is working with a completely different set of frameworks, and this makes this creates this barrier in the discourse, right? Jinx's whole
that's true. She doesn't like. There may be yet a way to convince Jinx and to start some kind of redemption for her, but not the way Vi is going about doing it because she doesn't understand the actual issue.
Right. The whole point of setting this up is, right, I'm killing something, so you have to kill someone to prove that you're going to be loyal to me. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Vi, in her counteroffer, does not make any mention of, it's like, we'll be together forever and ever, just you and me, 10 seasons in a movie, right? She doesn't do that. She's like, we can just forget about this. We'll just abandon everyone here and go off. And Silco's like, nah, no loyalty in that statement. Didn't even promise to get rid of Caitlyn. She'll abandon you. And what's Silco going to do? He's going to demonstrate now why he is, in fact, the most loyal. Right? She already left you once. And it's funny she shoots Milo, right? The statement has really gotten to her, and she's having too many negative thoughts, so she symbolically kills the fucking negative thoughts for a moment, right? But this is setting up, right? Silco has put her in a position where, like, she's not going to be loyal to you. She's going to abandon you, just like she did already. And she goes, "You're not lying." Citation is, "Trust me, bro." Right? She's literally here asking for you to give her definitive proof by killing Caitlyn that she can trust you. And you refuse to do that. And then your alternative, instead of proving that you're loyal by killing this girl you love, is citation, "Trust me, bro." One of those is much less compelling than the other. And that's not to say, like, she isn't or she wouldn't or whatnot. But like from the rhetorical optics, from Jinx's perspective, Vi is making a very weak case, and Silco has put a ton of fucking giant holes in the counter offer. And so, what is Silco going to do now? He's going to swoop in and he's going to demonstrate why his deal is a bit better, right? All right. So, right, she comes in and she offers Vi this deal: kill the other person that you care about the most to prove that you love me the most. And Vi is not willing to do that. And what does Silco do? Oh, the only thing I've cared about this entire time? Burn it. Fucking burn it.
Yeah.
He
I'll just.
fully invested. Sorry,
I'll
what
be
were you
right back in like 2 minutes.
Okay. Then I'll just keep him entertained a little bit till you come back, because this is a bit of an important scene. Let me grab a drink real quick. So, like we talked about this earlier, like he can't literally like kill the other person he cares about more. Like Savika is not quite analogous, but this is like directly analogous, right? Jinx is worried because Vi seems to care more about Caitlyn than her, right? And when you have like these self-esteem problems, like she does, right? She is this no face, this empty void that needs to be filled with love of someone or something. She can't really as well conceptualize that she could love her and this other person, or love them both in different ways, or love them both equally, or whatnot. And so she sort of sees this as this tug of war between her and Caitlyn for Vi's affection. And so by offering Vi, she's killing the other rope puller, and it's just them forever, a billion seasons and a million movies. Right? Silco doesn't care about anyone in that way, but he's consistently cared about the mission. Right? Every time he's disciplined Jinx for something, it's always been in relation to into like the goals of the organization, right? When he had her take some time off, it's not because she's like, oh, you murdered a person and that's bad. That fucking is Zon, right? From the beginning, he kills Vander for Zon. He does all this stuff for Zon. He goes and meets with Talus and gets the deal for Zon. The deal is on the table, and so now and this is what the scene where he's talking to Vander's about. Is there anything so undoing as a daughter? Everything I believed in, everything I cared about, everything I loved, everything I wanted, everything that made me who I am, I will now abandon because my daughter is more important to me than any of this other stuff. And so he is actually, in some ways, right? Caitlyn is this girl that Vi has known for like what, a week? And Vi's not willing to give her up. But this one singular goal that has all consumed Silco for effectively, it seems, his entire life, to the point where he was willing and able to destroy anything else that got in the way. Right? He's demonstrated much more commitment to this thing than Vi has to Caitlyn, and has much more reason to commit to this thing than Vi does for Caitlyn. But still, he's willing to burn and give all of that up for Jinx. Why? If Silco's willing to do that for her, why isn't Vi, her own sister, willing to give up this one person she met like a fucking week ago? Right? There's this major disunity, or this major difference, glaring difference between the two. And like, I can imagine some people's like, well, this isn't really fair because Silco's a fucking psychopath. Though he's probably not actually a psychopath, but but still, he's like fucking. He's a menace to society, and he doesn't have these moral qualms. Vi has this entire moral framework, and it's like, yes, but that doesn't matter to Jinx. Jinx has spent all this time with Silco. She has like a somewhat similar framework, right? She doesn't care about like fucking blowing people up and shit. She doesn't care. Right? So those morals are not like, if you take a moral stand on something for someone who does not share those morals, it doesn't get you extra points. It's just really fucking annoying. And so Silco is like at an advantage because they have like a shared moral. It's not like an identical one, but they have a shared moral framework, and so that allows him to do things that Vi can't, and he's leveraging that perfectly. And like you can say, well, you know, Vi's morals are right, and you know that's fine, but that doesn't have anything to really do with Jinx, right? If some like some zealot from like this religion he didn't believe in came in and had all these frameworks, and the result was the frameworks were like he was constantly acting like an asshole to you. Like, hey, can you help me with like moving? Oh, I'm sorry, I can't ever help you with anything because of all these frameworks, or like he did like shitty things or whatever, right? It doesn't matter to you because you don't share those frameworks. Silco and Jinx share the frame. Vi's allowed to talk. Silco isn't until the deal gets so between her and until Vi refuses and the deal sort of becomes unstable. Right? If I had just shot Caitlyn, Jinx would have shot Silco and they would have moved on. Silco would get no opportunity. It's because Vi isn't able to, is like halted by those frameworks. And not just the framework. She also cares about Caitlyn, doesn't want to shoot her. But because she's halted by that, it gives Silco this opportunity to sort of slither in. So yeah. Was there anything else about any of the earlier parts that was worth mentioning? Don't think so. I think we've covered a bunch of the stuff. Hold on a second. We'll come back. I want to know did she make pancakes? Or what did she make? Yeah, pancakes. So. Oh wait, no, it is a cupcake. Never mind.
False.
False?
False.
Then what is it?
Muffin. I don't know. I wasn't listening.
I'm not actually sure what the difference. But yeah, there we go. Right, cupcake is like a reference to obviously to Vi and Caitlyn. Right, and now now that he's put a ton of fucking holes into Vi's loyalty, she's going to betray you, and he makes some compelling arguments. And he's saying, not me. Not me. Jinx and Silco, 18 seasons in a movie, okay? Forever and ever, amen.
Peace.
And that doesn't really help her. I'll say, like, now this lady is pointing a fucking firearm at me. What an asshole.
Yeah. Yeah, the nerve to be threatened to be killed and now to defend yourself.
Like, we're all here trying to work out so we can be a happy family with someone, and now you're just trying to take me out of the picture. Could you imagine that? Like, imagine, Andrew, that someone had gone to Vi, right, and said that we got to get rid of Caitlyn. We got to kill her, huh? How would you feel? How would you feel, Caitlyn? Selfish. Selfish is what it is.
Means.
But it reinforces that it's me versus her mentality, right? Like Vi is trying to do like this. Oh, we'll keep you. You're both good people. And Jinx like, this motherfucker's pointing a gun at me. First opportunity she got. And Vi is telling Jinx not to kill her. Like, what the fuck? She's the one pointing the Gatling gun at me. And now you're coming like, don't be shooting her. What the fuck is wrong with you? Whose side are you on? And that's a great line. Uh, the surrounding stuff is really great because she says she's my sister, and Jinx looks at her like, oh, maybe you are a little bit on my side, and then Silco looks at Jinx in like a bit of a panicked. Let's watch it again. But she looks a bit more nicely at her sister. Right? Here comes C. And then he looks at Jinx. And notice she puts the gun by Silco. Which is like an interesting choice, right? Silco's a little worried that the fact that Vi's standing up for her means that Jinx is going to switch. And then has this moment where he looks at her and she puts the gun down next to Silco. And she's probably thinking more favorably towards Vi at this moment now. But ultimately, she does have this crazy lady just pointing a Gatling gun at her for no fucking reason. And that's got to be dealt with first. So deal with the one thing, then the rest. Oh, and isn't her face just so adorable? Such an adorable little face, Andrew. Not she's just an innocent little baby girl who would never do nothing, wouldn't hurt a fly, do nothing to nobody. Isn't that right, Andrew? This innocent baby.
Psychopathic killer. What? What? Overpowered. Mary Sue. Fake.
I thought they were just going to get along after I saw that cute face. I don't know what the. I like what they did with the eyes, the reinforcing like this is like some shimmer shit going on with her body.
Mm-hmm.
Right, we can go back, but it has like this really janky, jagged movement, reinforcing the sort of unnatural elements of it. But yeah, the gun is to show she still has like a fair bit of trust in Silco. It's also probably like an idea of balance, right? Because now Caitlyn Vi's team has like a gun, and now Silco's has a gun in case something goes wrong, which is a little interesting.
Yeah, and also, why is Vi saying no, no, no?
I think
And
she.
not like if Vi is spooked enough to be like, oh no, 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 then she. It seems like she figures something's about to happen, but she doesn't say anything. She doesn't say, Caitlyn, don't or anything. I mean, I guess she has nothing to say because the correct thing to say in the situation is, Caitlyn, frickin' unload your clip. Go nuts, have at it.
I know
Is the
you're so. I
correct.
know what you're going to say, Uncle. That I should get along with my sister. No, that witch is crazy. It needs to go down.
Exactly.
But maybe that's what we should watch next. The
Yeah,
new
now she's
Netflix Avatar.
Oh, I don't know.
I saw ER talk
I
about the
don't know.
trailer, and uh
I haven't seen. Yeah, that's worth watching. I'll check that out. I saw Shadiversity talk about it. Just a few minutes of his video with I forget the friend's name. I think it's Nate. But I was watching their video a little bit, and just the fact that they're making Sokka not sexist, which is like fundamental to the way that he changes over time throughout the show. Then it's like, okay, well, Sokka's just not going to be interesting, and his part of the show is very important. And like, so what's he gonna do? Is he gonna meet Suki and just be like, "Oh my gosh, you're so cool," rather than like
Yes, that's exactly
a
what he's
little
going to
bit of
do.
like showing up? That's
You
so
know what's?
shit.
I'll
That's
tell
like
you what's going to happen. They're going to show up as like the fire, and they're going to beat him up, and then Suki's going to show up and and then she's going to say, "Sokka, you're a fucking loser. Kill yourself."
and then
And then he's
Sokka's
going to
gonna
say,
be like,
"No,
"Yes,
please,"
my
and
lady."
he's going to get on his knees and go, "Please, please let me be a cool woman like you." And she's like, "We don't let men in because men are losers, okay?
Yeah, men suck.
Men
Men
suck."
men weren't around when we needed them. Meanwhile, the men fighting the war.
And he's going, "Please, please, I, a male, could never be as cool and as efficient and as kick-ass as you, a strong, independent woman."
Mhm.
And she's like, "I guess. Here, you can come into our dojo and be the butt of every joke because you're a man."
Mhm.
Right? And to be fair, I think like in the original, he is like the butt of a bunch of jokes in the dojo, but it works because he goes in as like a sexist. So it's like some righteous comeuppance.
Yeah,
Whereas
and
now
he is a
there's
good warrior himself as well. He just doesn't do like he doesn't their style of fighting doesn't make sense to him, and they beat him with it. But then like I think at the end of the show they're in like the airships and stuff, and he's fighting with like alongside her,
well,
and they have to. I think their thing is taking down the airships, the blimps or whatever.
Sokka in a lot of ways sort of parallels Zuko's journey because he
Hmm.
starts off as like the man of the last man in the village. So he has to have like
Mm-hmm.
this bravado of being the best warrior. And it's over the course of the show he becomes more and more humble. It's the same thing that happens when they're in the Fire Nation and there's that sword master. And all the people are coming to him. He's like, "I am the greatest sword fighter in my village," and he refuses all of them. And then eventually when Sokka goes, he does like the bow and he's like, "I'm not the greatest. I'm not this legendary warrior, and that's why I need your help. Please."
Mm-hmm.
And he demonstrates that humility, and that's how he gets cuz Sokka, like as you know, he's a warrior, but he doesn't have any of the magic powers. He's like at a disadvantage against everyone. And so it's
Yeah,
only by
he's
become
constantly needing to prove
mm-hmm.
himself.
And this is like a big theme in Avatar. Zuko goes through it, Sokka goes through it. The idea of pride is what's holding you back, and you need to reject that and accept true humility in order to go forward.
Yes.
Because by accepting that humility, that's how you learn things, right? He has that whole conversation Uncle Iroh does with Zuko, where he talks about the different styles, and he's like, and Zuko's like, "What? I'm a firebender. I can't use waterbending. Why am I learning this?"
Yeah.
He's like, by learning from all like these other cultures and these other ways of doing things, if you only stick rigidly to how you've done things, it grows stale. But this is like the breath of fresh air that comes in, and you can do these strange things. It's only by learning how the water tribe fights that they can like redirect lightning. That doesn't
Right.
exist in the firebending. And so Fire Lord Orzen, when he uses the lightning, thinks he's going to kill Zuko, and like he reflects, and it's a complete surprise. Like he had no
Yeah.
concept that this was something
Oh,
you could
that's
do.
so man. I freaking love that final fight with that's an awesome scene too when he redirects Ozai's lightning. But I freaking love Zuko's big payoff when they're fighting Azula with Katara. Doesn't even
You're cutting off, but I can guess what you're saying. Like he doesn't get to do it because when Azula goes to
uh
you've cut off, so I was doing it for you.
oh sorry.
But
Yeah, he was I think he was ready to redirect the lightning or something like that.
right, he goes and he gets ready to redirect it, and she attacks Katara instead, which is like an admission
Right.
that she can't take Zuko.
Yes. Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, it. Avatar: The Last Airbender is like an almost perfect show. Like nothing's ever perfect, but it's like it's very close to like a perfect show, and they keep remaking. I remember when I first saw, I'm like, oh, I really like to see like another season where like they find out what happened to Zuko's mom because that's like a plot head they left plot thread they left hanging. And then
Yeah.
Korra came out and it was like dog shit, and I'm like, oh god damn it. Actually first the M Night Shyamalan movie came out and it was dog shit, and then they released a sequel. And it was like, oh, it's got most of the original creators, and then it was dog shit, and then they're like this new one. And I'm like, just stop, just stop. No one wants.
Times.
Why are you doing this? There's been like exactly one good there's been exactly one decent adaptation of like a of like an anime / video game. And like all the others are just complete dog shit. Just stop. It's filthy. It's time to stop. It's fucking. Just stop. Just stop. Do literally anything else.
Cease to do.
Right? I would have more show that does stuff that like tries and like fails in a bunch of places. Right? I've been watching Has Been Hotel. Which is like the YouTube one. Right? That Vivzy Pop was like a YouTuber who brought on a bunch of people to do a pilot, and she sold off the show, and they made like 7 or 8 episodes. I think it's 7. And I mean, it's not a review of that show. I think the first like 4 episodes are really good, and I think the next 4 are not as good, unfortunately. But she's making something, right? And the first few episodes are really good, and then I would say like the first 4 are like really good, and then the last 4 are like okay. But she's trying, right? She put together a series with like there's unique characters in a unique place and its own plot. It's like derivative because it's set in hell, but like she's trying. I got infinite more respect for that than like fucking this goddamn rehash bullshit. But yeah, we should probably move back to Arcane.
Sure.
But if there's anything you want
Yeah,
to
I
say,
agree with you there. Support indie animation and whatever. I don't know if it's animation, but yeah.
yeah, here's one I really like. Worthy Kids has a show called Big Top Burger, and like each episode will be like 2 to 3 minutes, and he has like 2 seasons of it out, and it's really good. I really like it. So I'd recommend.
Whatever happened to Rooster Teeth?
They sort of imploded.
Hmm.
There's like
Sorry.
the sort of overview is a bunch of the original creators sort of left, or they started becoming less and less active and handing it off to new people, and the new people weren't that good at it. And then eventually a bunch of people left, and then like what was left had like some major implosions. There were like a ton of controversies. I don't know all the details. And like they're still making stuff, but I don't think they're not as big anymore. Unfortunately, it seems like classic Rooster Teeth was a bunch of really creative people being in like the right place at the right time with the right sorts of people that they could make something really great. And then
Oh, wait, what's classic Rooster Teeth to you though? Is it like RB or Red versus Blue, or is it once they've already had like their show and stuff?
I would say classic is sort of if I were to divide it, probably if I were to actually start thinking about how I would divide it, probably the classic stuff is going to be up till Blood Gulch, the end of Blood Gulch, including all those earlier machinimas. And then probably I'd say like the golden age is the Revelation, those 3 seasons from like
Yes.
6, 7, 8. It's where they had like the most talents and most stuff together. And then like the Freelancer, which is like 9 to 10. I think that's when they start handing over some more of the writing stuff to, and then after that, most of the stuff is just sort of handed over to different people. That's sort of how I would block it out. Because you have a bunch of issues happening all at once. Like Bernie Burns stops writing, and he was like the big writer for all of that stuff. So they handed it to a guy named Miles Luna, who is
Oh,
not like I don't want to I don't have anything against him as like a person. As far as I'm aware, I don't know much about him as a person. I've seen him around and like he's been on as part of stuff and seems like a funny guy. And seems like a nice guy to be around. I don't know. Maybe we'll find. As I'm saying this, maybe there's actually like some controversy where he raped some women or something, and I'm gonna look like an idiot. Because I remember there
uh,
was a bunch of like sexual allegations going around. I don't remember who or what it was, but like I don't have anything personal against Miles Luna as far as I'm aware. Uh, but it's just his writing was not very good. And you saw this a lot with Ruby was like the big show that he helmed. So Monty Ohm,
did he write anything of Red versus Blue?
he wrote the stuff after Freelancer. He's the main writer. So
Okay,
season
so he wrote did he write the Halo Reach one, or was that Freelancer?
um
He wrote Halo 4, right? When they were on
yes.
the alternate planet with the
Yes.
Civil War and the mercenaries.
Right, that's Miles Luna.
That was okay. There was some parts of that that were okay, I think, but yeah, it's no revelation.
Rooster Teeth did a ton of other machinimas besides RVB. RVB is one of the later machinimas
Right.
in that classic catalog, right? And I assume if we went back and watched a bunch of those earlier ones, they wouldn't be super great. But by the time Bernie's like writing the Red versus Blue, he's honed it very well, and he's very good at what he does, and he has a lot of good talent behind him. Whereas Miles Luna comes up as part of Ruby, because it's originally Ruby is like Miles and Monty Ohm's things, and Monty Ohm passes away, and I'm not going to get into the conspiracies around that, but he passes away, which is a big problem because Monty Ohm's like the big technical guy. He's the guy who does all the fucking big animations. He's the guy that they brought in for for the recollection for those 3 seasons. He's the guy that makes the warthog scene with Meta and Griff possible. And so the trailers come out for Ruby, and it's very good. And unfortunately, the first season is decent. It's not great, but it's decent. And I can't remember at what point Monty Ohm passes away. But the show just isn't very good writing rise. And the big thing that was holding it up was all the big action pieces, because Monty Ohm is very very good
When
at
you
that.
lost that, you lost the
Right,
one thing that was good about the show.
right. And there's and to be there was a lot of interesting ideas at the start that just seemed not to get super explored. I dropped it pretty early on, which was unfortunate because I really wanted to like it and I was really excited for it. And like I even stuck with the RVB Fucker mains armor, whichever season that was in, and then I dropped it. And apparently it gets even worse. It's just continuously gone downhill, which is unfortunate. Yeah, I gotta say, like I think probably I thought about it a little bit because RVB is like one of the two biggest Halo machinimas, right? It's RVB and RB and the Chief are like the two big Halo machinimas. Um, and RB and the Chief, if you don't know, is still going on John CJG's channel. Well, actually, I think it's over now. But it was going for like a long. He rebooted it a little bit and did some more stuff, and it was real good. I think probably when you build out a team, I think what the conclusion I've drawn is when you build out a team, you can reach probably greater heights than you can as like a solo person. But the flip side of that is if you lose any piece of that team, suddenly you're falling, you're out of the sky, right? You're Icarus, your wings have melted, and everything sort of collapses. So you can fly higher, but if as soon as it starts, people start leaving, you start plummeting back down again. So, anyway, but even with all my criticisms, at the very fucking least, Rooster Teeth is doing their own shit.
Yes.
a show that they conceptualized, they created, they animated, they wrote, they voiced, they did it all themselves. So I have no beef with them for what they've created. I wish it was better, but they're trying, and I think we should give them some props for that. I will give them no fucking props for the rest of the RVB shit though, because that wasn't something they came up, right? Bernie Burns left and they took it over and they turned it in shit now. You get no props. You're not Pasco. You do not collect $200.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
But yeah.
Let's proceed with Arcane.
Yeah.
Definitely a psychopath.
Yeah. But Silco's making the right call again. You see, she did try to shoot you. She will kill you. She will betray you. I'm the only one who's on side. Right? And this is sort of an important dichotomy, right? The axiom we're working with here. I, Jinx, want to be loved. I need to become this thing for Silco to love me, and I need to become this thing for Vi to love me. And then we have this interaction here, where Silco's like, see, I'm on your side. I love you. I want to help you. They want to kill you. And Vi is pulling the wake up, right? Vi, or she's going, Jinx, become this person so I can love you. Suddenly there's a bit of a, right? You see how the Silco's sort of axioms a little bit, and indicating that she's like, he's already on side. This is going to be important later. Oh, and this is just the most helpful it could possibly be, Andrew. Hey, remember all those sources of your PTSD whose deaths you blame yourself for? You should remember them.
Yes.
Remember how you killed everyone you ever loved or cared about right now. Just think about how you murdered everyone who ever cared about you. Why would anyone love you? Because you keep murdering them. That's what you should think about.
That's very helpful.
For some reason, she seems to be having a negative reaction to this. Right? And Jinx, of course, is having a bad time. And she's like, stop. And Vi keeps going because Vi does not believe in consent. Unlike Silco.
No.
But right, Silco's right now, like, don't listen to her, just block her out. Is way more in line with where Jinx is right now than where Vi is right now. Vi's like, here, let me just keep applying the pressure here. Just more pain, more pain. And Silco's like, no more pain. She's like, no, block it out. Dad, the other dad you had, who you murdered, who you got killed because he loved you. Because everything's your fucking fault.
You know what? Jinx should think about it. Silco should stop telling her to ignore her past. Vi is totally in the right here by accident. So Jinx should think about Milo and Clagger and...
Oh no. Oh no, 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 no.
What?
Oh, you're back. You cut out.
Okay.
I just want to say, while you are technically correct that probably instead of burning the pen and just forgetting that, probably should like unpack it and deal with it. There's also a time and place to do those things, Andrew. If you saw a man ready to jump off the bridge, you don't just start talking about how much of a piece of shit he's been. Probably should deal with it at some point, but maybe not right now. maybe we should hold that conversation for a more appropriate time when she's probably a bit more open to dealing with that. But also, the other effect of this is creating a high stress environment. And high stress environments are added pressure, and they're more likely to sort of cause like snap judgments, which is what's going to happen.
The high stress environment was caused by Jinx. She
Well,
tied them up and told them to shoot each other.
listen. I'm not saying that Jinx has never
I
done
mean,
anything
okay,
wrong. I'm saying that
okay. The only person who's actually made a mistake so far is Caitlyn for not unloading her clip.
all I'm saying is Vi's arguments here are adding more stress to the environment. I'm saying what she's doing is escalating the situation as opposed to de-escalating the situation. That's all I'm saying. I'm saying that the increased pressure is going to make Jinx more erratic and more prone to snap judgments. And I guess they'll go too. And this is a nice touch. Like, he gets the gun, and then she hears the dink, and that's sort of what snaps her out of it. Though notice as well, you can see the shimmer blood veins going out of her eye if you look in close. Nice touch.
I didn't notice. I like this a lot because of
Oh, sorry.
the way that you see Silco take the gun is very subtle. It's like in between the shots of schizophrenia until like you know what I mean? It's like there's a little quick frame of him like trying to release himself from the binds, and then back to her, and then back to him like reaching for the gun, and then back to her, and then him grinning with the gun in his hand, and then the ding. I like that a lot. That's really cool.
Yeah, and also reflects Powder's sort of perception of what's happening, right? She probably is aware that, like, Silco's doing something, but isn't really sure what exactly he's doing because she's focused on this. And it's not until, like, the ding of the gun loading and getting ready to fire that it sort of pulls in a snap back to reality. Oops, there goes my daddy. And shows a Vi too a little bit trying to, and they're and all the crows leave. Goes over, boys, heading home. So when you first watched, who do you think she shot?
Killed Vi. It's crazy.
I was pretty certain she killed Silco in this
Yeah,
scene.
yeah, no, for sure.
And the problem is, because I know where Jinx is going to end up, and Silco kind of has to die here for that to happen. Listen, Silco, as one of the few characters in this series who has no plot armor, survives really well. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
And so this is right. We have the high stress environment, snap judgments. Now it's over. Everything's calm and like the breathing's in. Now she has to sort of grapple with what has happened.
Yes. This was also the correct decision. Maybe she should be put under high stress situations more often. I'm kidding.
And well, this is the
Definitely not.
decision that's going to make Jinx. Right, and obviously she's heartbroken about this. She's killed her dad again.
Again.
But Silco's
Yeah,
line here is going to be very important because what is the axiom she's operating under at this point? I need to change into one of these two people so I need to become Jinx for Silco to love me, or become Powder for Vi to love me. That's the axiom she's operating under, and so this line is going to be. Right, so this is literally the most important line for Jinx. Her whole axiom is like, I have to change who I am to become this thing for someone to love me. Because that's what she wants, someone to love her and to care about her and whatnot. And then she can Vi reinforces that. It's like, you have to become Powder. Remember who you are. Right? She reinforces, but Silco has taken the opposite route. It doesn't matter to him if she is Jinx or Powder or whatever. She is literally, by every possible metric, has failed him here. She has shot him to death, and he is now dying. And still, not only does he love her, he is saying that that internal axiom is wrong. It doesn't matter who you are. I'm going to love you no matter what. And so, from Jinx's, with that sort of axiom gone, right? The only thing Jinx wants is someone who will love her. And she has found the only person who will love her no matter what. And she has just shot him to death.
Mm. Well, he shouldn't have tried to kill her sister.
And it's now gone by her own hands.
Yeah. But here, there's something kind of important here about his reaction because why did he? Who was he shooting? Was he shooting Vi or Caitlyn? He was shooting Vi, right?
Yeah. Well, I guess we don't know, but I assume Vi.
So then why? Like, what was he? Why did he? What did he think that Jinx would do if he had done that? And then if she had made it, presumably he didn't want to get shot to death on the spot for doing that.
Right.
And so presumably he was not expecting or wanting her to do that, and so presumably she had just made a mistake in killing him. And she made the wrong move by killing him.
Mm-hmm.
And is it in Silco's character to be for him to be at peace with that now? Like, I don't know if it is. Maybe it is because he does care about Jinx, but
well, it's not that
she
he
just shot
cares
him to
about
death
Jinx
on the spot.
It's not that he cares about Jinx now. It's that he only cares about Jinx now.
Yes, but he just shot her sister and was murdered by her in response.
No, I think this is part of it important because Jinx's whole setup here is okay. So there's two separate questions. You're asking, is it in character for Silco to be okay with having been shot by Jinx?
I'm not sure what my issue
Questions like what
Jinx
did
to
Silco
do, and then his reaction after the fact.
Okay, what I expect Silco's thought process like so first off, we're in the high stress environment now, so we're not thinking clearly through all of our decisions. So essentially, we're not running off the cognitive section. We're running off the sort of subconscious a fair bit. And so what Silco sees is, one, that's Vi, that's a threat to me, and threat to my relationship with Jinx. That's one. Thing two, that's Vi, she's hurting Jinx right now. Two things. Point three, if I kill her, those two things stop. I think that's pretty much the logical progression. And if there's a fourth where like Jinx is sort of considered, it's going to be, if I do this, Jinx no longer hurts. B, Jinx can't really do anything right now. She's like curled up on the floor. And three, I can sort of explain my way through this later. And four, I'll be the only thing she has left if I get rid of Vi anyway, so she's not right. And to be fair, if her gun didn't have that particular ding sound, he would have gotten away with it too. It's that ding sound that brings her back.
It's as simple as like a miscalculation. He just missed her last move.
Right.
Like he didn't expect her to actually kill him for it.
Yeah, I think he thought. I think his entire plan was, I'm going to kill her, and then Jinx will calm down a bit, and then we'll talk, and then she'll be with me forever. I think that's basically the entirety of the plan. Right? And it's a plan he has to come up with in like 3 seconds in like a high stress environment. It's not unreasonable. Especially as we know, Jinx does freeze up in high stress situations. Right? To the point where like there's like significant risks to her. So I don't think it was like a dumb calculation. I think it was a reasonable given the circumstances. And then I think we get to his reaction to it. And Silco only cares about Jinx now. Like, he doesn't care about anyone or anything else anymore. And so the words he's picking are going to be the ones that best, I guess, in his view, best help his daughter. So I think the words are like in line too. And both of that sort of plays into how Jinx is sort of seeing everything. Because there's a point I wanted to make that you remind me of that now I can't quite remember.
Oh, shoot.
But right, she's like, I need to become this person. And Silco says, no, you don't. You as you are perfect. I love you as you are. And nothing is going to really change that, and right? Which is the one thing she's been sort of, that she desperately wants. And now it's gone. And he's like the one person who could give that to her, and he's gone too. So, and he's not mad at her for fucking shooting him, right? It's like
Yeah,
he's
but then
demonstrating.
isn't that like the fulfillment of like her thing she wants? Like she's gotten the confirmation that like it's okay, right? Like that he will love her no matter what. He's dead, but he like,
Yes,
you know,
this is the fulfillment of everything she said, everything she thinks she wants and feels like she needs. He fulfills all of that in this moment as he dies.
Mm.
Right? And I think I know what I was wanting to say, and we'll say in a bit. So, she now has to grapple with the fact that she's done this. And I think this is the moment she becomes Jinx. Right here. Because Jinx now has to deal with... She sets up this scenario because she wants to find someone to love her, who she can love back. And all the tests is set up for Vi to prove that she loves her. Vi does not succeed in any of them. Silco, on the other hand, succeeds in all of them. And then even goes beyond, right? The whole deal is like, you do this and I'll change so you'll love me. And he's like, no, I already love you and I'll do all these things for you anyway. So the one person that fulfills that and does that for her is Silco. And so now she stands up and has to do next, and she can try and become. There's no point, right? Vi does not love her in the way that Silco does. Silco has given her that, and so the only choice for her to make now, especially now that Silco is sort of gone, is she has to choose the Jinx chair. That's who she is, and that's who Silco loves. Right? And here's the important part of this decision, right? Silco, even to the very end, even when she shoots him to death, never abandons her. So she can't choose Powder now, because she can't abandon him, even though he's dead.
Yeah, so she has to follow through on his plan.
Right. And she technically doesn't even have to follow through on his plan anymore, because Silco doesn't care about that. He just wants Jinx. And the only person who's given her this fulfillment at any point now is Silco. And so, partially in honor of him, but partially because this is her only way to have any sort of attachment to this one person who loved her. Right? She can't bring him back, but she can sort of be with him in spirit, in a sort of metaphorical, physical sense, by fully embracing who she is, and the things Silco loved about her the most, and abandoning these things that he always told her to abandon, by fulfilling what Silco has fulfilled everything she's asked of him. And so now she, in turn, is fulfilling the things that Silco asked of her. And Vi, who has not fulfilled any of these things, Jinx is choosing to kill off those parts of herself that Vi wanted, because they weren't valuable to Silco, and in her perspective, she was not valuable to Oh, oh,
Impact the mentality of her. It is quite complicated.
yeah. I'm sorry, we've cut around a lot. Yeah, and so she's sort of they've latched on to each other, and though he's gone, she has this sort of well, we'll see it in a second. But this is how she can the closest she can be with someone who loves her from her perspective. Right? And that's the line. I thought maybe you could love me like you used to. Right? She's fully on board with like you don't love me like you used to. You can't love me in the way
Mhm.
that he did. And he's gone now because of me. Right? And that's another point. Jinx offered the choice to Vi, and Vi doesn't take it. But when Jinx is presented with the same choice, she makes it in a heartbeat. Right? Jinx cares about Silco a lot. I probably more than Vi cares about Caitlyn at this point, right? They've only known each other for like a week. And Jinx is, in a split second, makes that decision for her because she loves Vi that much. And so now she's in a position where
What do you mean?
I would make this decision for you. You would not make it for me. Silco would, though. And so part of this is like the guilt. I have to make this right. Part of this is like, this is the closest I can now be with someone who did genuinely love me because no one else does. I can't betray this self I have from my time with Silco. So it's like a combination of all these negative factors that makes this the only choice she can really make at this point. Right? I changed, but you changed too. Right? She's saying that Vi does not love her in the same way, and that her love is conditional, and Silco's wasn't. And now another important part's coming up. Andrew, do you remember? Do you remember the one
Mm-hmm.
thing? The one thing you were supposed to remember this entire time? The one thing throughout this
Yeah.
entire
Yeah.
show I keep telling you is very, very important. I prom.
Silco loves
I have taken us.
God.
I've taken us through the deserts. We are approaching the promised lands, and here it is. What is that, Andrew? What is that she's carrying? Can you tell me what animal that is?
That is a shark
And who do we know who
on
loves
set.
sharks? Who
Why?
do we know who loves sharks? It's Silco. Silco loves
It
sharks.
is
And who is
Silco.
this weapon designed for? And this for
It is-
Silco. That's why it's a shark. And so it's a great it's beautiful. It's this representation of like just within her own weapons, like within everything that who she is, there is this imprint of Silco that continues on through her. This legacy that she is continuing out of love for this person.
So what was the plan though? Was the plan okay? Vi kills Caitlyn. I turn into powder. You know, we leave or we kill Silco maybe, and then we go and we go be sisters.
Yes, this is literally the
Or
entirety of the plan.
yeah, or Vi fails to kill Caitlyn. We kill Vi, we kill Caitlyn, and then I give Silco his gun. He pats me on the head and obliterates the council.
Yeah, basically.
Okay, all right. Checks out.
Listen, the plan sounds like dumb when you say it, but it makes perfect sense within her her conception of reality.
Yeah.
Right? Right? And this is the other part of the important line. Whenever I felt down, whenever I needed someone to pick me back up, it was your voice I heard. It's not Vi's voice she hears anymore. It's Silco's. Right? She pulls out the rocket, and then it's Silco's voice that comes to her, telling her, pushing her forward. And that's part of, right, that important line. You never left. You were always there. If she's already physically killed Silco, but she can retain him part of her as this sort of voice that pushes her forward. If she abandons that now and becomes powder, he will be gone. Truly gone. And she can't abandon him because he's the only one who won't abandon her. And then she gets a fucking ulti. And I guess there's a bit of a parallel here. I felt like Medarda wasn't as fleshed out as it could have been, but she's abandoning her real family for her chosen family, kind of like Jinx is abandoning her real family for her chosen family. And this scene's just so beautiful. I love this so much. You love who I am. Right, the song's also fucking great too. We usually talk about the song, but the song is very much about that sort of relationship between with Jinx and Vi, and that line is very like prescient. Why don't you love who I am? Because Vi this whole time loves Powder, who no longer exists, and Jinx is like on a few occasions like, no, this is who I am now. And even towards at the very end, remember who you are, Simba. Remember who you are. She loves Powder. She doesn't love me. Silco loves me. And then this is setting up, obviously, Savika's going to be in charge, I guess. We'll have to see how that ends.
Oh, yeah, it's gonna be Jinx versus
Actually cares enough about running the rest of the, like, running the Undercity to really bother with it. Right? It might, I think, I'm
Sure,
thinking,
but like no, I think Savika will be the instigator of the conflict.
oh, that make, like, she's trying to get her out of the way. That makes sense.
Yes.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah, like Jinx, stop freaking messing up what I'm trying to do. Like Savika's probably gonna be,
What I could see
I don't know.
is Jinx's terrorist attack is going to have massive implications for like when the Pilties are going to go in, and so
Yeah.
Sylvika's going to have to start dealing with that. And then on top of that, Jinx is going to start doing terrorist attacks more frequently. She's just going to start attacking Piltover, and she's like, "This is just untenable. You're unhinged."
Yeah.
So we'll have to see. But yeah, and there's Echo, the only other character to get an ulti this season, and Heimerdinger
The
and him.
ulti of remember.
Yeah, Heimerdinger and him are like a perfect pair for this because they both have like similar intentions, but uh, Heimerdinger needs to learn to be able to take more risks and take in like the on the ground situation to account a bit better, which he can learn from Echo, and probably there's some like safety features Echo could add to make it a little. It's like sort of a second chance for Heimerdinger because he had this with like Victor and Jace and bungled it, and now he's doing it with Echo, and now they're like Heimerdinger isn't like in charge of him; they're closer to equals now, and so that might
You're screwed up.
yeah, and they're all voting for peace, but it's too little and too late. The time for action has long passed, and there's Singed. I know the picture is like his daughter, and it's unclear like what's going on with her. In the legal lore, I think it's still unclear.
Okay.
There's like a theory that she's like this this other character, but there we have the outline of what I'm pretty sure is Vander.
Vander Warwick, right?
Yes,
Yeah, because you see like the claw, and then it looks like he almost has like a beard, like
yep.
an actual beard, and not like fur.
And like part of the reason we know is in the legal lore, it's sort of it said that Warwick used to be a father figure to Vi and Jinx.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Warwick's sort of history is a bit unclear. Uh, at least last I checked, the lore in the official League game is that Warwick is like I think it's kind of like this ex-cop slash community leader character who is killed
Okay.
and thrown into like a pool, into like a bog somewhere, and the weird
A bed of
chemicals,
acid.
not an acid, but like Zonite pools of water have tons of like fucking chemicals in it, and he comes back from that as like this vengeful, angry character who goes around killing Zonite criminals. And so I'm guessing this is how they sort of work it in, because there's the only person who's like a father figure to both Vi and Jinx and Vander, and he kind of looks like Vander, so it's probably that.
Back. And what has he been doing for 7 years? Or did he just figure out how to bring him back? And even if so, why would he? So that's going to be really tough because I don't see anything there.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. Maybe, maybe not. Well, listen, I've said I want to. I'm cautiously optimistic for the second season, and we'll see. We'll see. Um,
Mhm.
and then the lyrics here are great too. I was meant to be yours, right? Talking about how there was this idea of what we should have been, and it's gone now, and it's never coming back. Wait,
Very reluctant.
yeah, this moon is real unclear. It's my one gripe with this scene. The moon is
The
unclear.
moon?
Yeah, look at where the moon's placed. Right, there's the moon there. There's the the moon is teleporting. But it's a very pretty shot. Oh, they've all agreed. They've all agreed peace at last. Peace in our time. And even the fucking the thing is shark faced.
There's no way any of them survive this. They're all dead.
So here's the thing.
Jace completed it, or Victor's the only one who survives. But
Here's the thing. I will be very upset if
all die in this scene.
I think I think the optimum way to play this, you've committed to it, so you should stick. Jace should be fine, because he has to be.
How?
I don't
By
know.
what miracle?
Some fucking hex tech. He has to be fine though, because that's how it works. He has to be fine because in the game he's fine. He has plot armor. How you justify that? Um, how you could make this work is, so the theory is that second before it hits, um, Medarda gets, we see the gold thing Medarda's wearing, and it has like the Spidey sense tingle. How it could work, and this is the only way I could see this going forward in a way that's good, is that thing she's wearing is like some sort of magic item. And because of she's wearing it, she senses the bomb coming, and she has like a few seconds and can do some and has some sort of protective feature. And she uses that to shield Jace because she loves Jace. And so Jace survives relatively unharmed. Everyone else dies except for Victor, who is like horribly disfigured. And so Victor is forced to start putting all these mechanical attachments to himself in order to save himself, thus leading to the machine revolution with Victor, keeping Jace preserved for the game time period, while still having consequences of eliminating the rest of the board, and specifically someone of importance to Jace in Medarda, which is what's going to fuel a lot of what happens next, I guess. The only way I could see this sort of playing out and it being good, I am really worried that they're just gonna, Medarda has magic coat, and that saves all the people. That would really fucking annoy me. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Maybe they have some third option I haven't considered that's really good. Maybe they have some other option they do something else that's really bad. I don't know. We'll have to see.
It'll be hard for me to find satisfactory anything other than they all frickin' die, to be honest. Like, and I don't want that to happen, but at the same time, I'm like, if that's not what happens, I don't want her to have a magic item at the last second. I don't want Jace to bust out a secret Hextech shield spell for the last second. um, and I don't want Victor to bust out his last minute spell. I don't want any of them to bust out their last minute, the reaction spells they've been saving for 6 turns to bust out for the boss fight. Um, it's gonna feel light to me. It's not gonna feel heavy, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not
Like
super.
I don't. Here's my thing. I don't care. I don't care for a second about the game and what the game's lore is. Right? This is clearly a different reality. The characters have slightly different designs, slightly different histories, and they can have slightly different futures too. It's fine. Make it different. Make it make sense. Make the events flow from their. Make the consequences flow from their effects. If that means Jace and Victor frickin' die and you don't get a Victor Machine Revolution thing, fine. They had their character arcs, right? Victor's is kind of things happened to them, right? Like, just tell me what's next. Don't tell me what Jace does next. He doesn't have to do anything next. Someone else will surely exist who will take up the fight, and he can be an interesting character too.
Yeah, it's not going to happen
That's
though.
what I think. Yeah, that's what I think though. Like that's what I would probably prefer. As like objectively, not necessarily that like I want to see Jinx and Victor still around, but if we're coming to this, I don't think they should come back. But anyways, we'll see what happens. We will.
Yeah, I'm going to go out.
I'll be open minded about it.
I'd put money down that Jace and Victor will survive. Uh, I very much. I think it's basically impossible for them to be dead
Yeah,
after the scene.
yeah.
Which is
I hope they're at least like severely injured. Like I hope every one of them is dead, and Victor is like bleeding out, and he's got to consume the crystal to survive.
Well, Victor's
And
Victor's
and
probably
you
the
know,
easiest one to work with because like so much of his body is replaced as part of the machine revolution. You can like take
yes,
everything apart and then just replace and then start the machine revolution that way. Jace is the one that's like real difficult.
I'd be fine with like Jace is out for like 4 episodes, while Victor recovers from the crystal, and he's basically being looked to as the guy who should run the show, or at least like you were there. What do we do? You're Jace's partner. And then Jace is recovering, and then
That is an interesting. So like maybe, Medarda has the magic thing because I think they're showing
would
it here.
be very
It's going to
interesting.
be there, and that's what like saved Jace, but he's still like heavily injured and like in a coma
Yeah.
for a while. And then she's dead, and Victor has to run things as far with his machine revolution,
Hmm.
and that could precipitate Heimerdinger eventually coming back to Piltover, because
Yeah.
he's the only one who is on like the council.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and Jace can like apologize to him and stuff.
and then yeah, Jace wakes up, finds out his girl's dead, and then maybe the stress of like being in charge for Victor because he hasn't had to deal with that before is what sort of precipitates him down the path of like the machine revolution. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But also, yeah, this is why I say it's the big ending. It is the ending. It's not a cliffhanger because Jinx. My position is the character arc is that Jinx is turning from Powder to Jinx, and then sitting down, she's made the decision to become Jinx, and she has become Jinx. And then to solidify that, she blows up the fucking parliament. Whereas Andrew disagrees. He thinks it's a Vi's arc. We'll see.
Hmm.
But with that, I think we Andrew, we've done it.
If we actually
There it is. There's the credits.
credits. Dude, we watched Arcane on stream. It
We
took us
did
a
it.
year, but we did.
We finally fucking did it. Let me
Just
Google
love
it
it.
real quick.
Something was playing for me. I think it was just my Netflix continuing on.
Oh, I just restarted.
Um, Gotcha.
Arcane season 2. When are we? When is it coming out?
Um, I do, I do have something to suggest to us. I don't know if we'll be able to though. But I'll run it by you after the stream.
Sure. November is when the next one comes out, so
Okay.
we got a couple months. You know what I should do? I should finish up that fucking the tabletop. Then we could do a couple of games from it or something
Yeah,
and show it
sure.
off. All right, I guess I'll work on that after I do cleaning today. All right.
Yeah, I want to introduce you to Axe as well. Axe is cool.
All right. I don't need to do that. All right, so we should probably wrap up. Like, any final thoughts we have on the series? Is there anything you wanted to? Why are we? Why are we there?
I thought of this.
I just saw it now. Yeah. So I guess we could do the debate one more time before as we think about it. But actually, we already did that. We don't need to. So how about this? What rating would you give it? Out of how many stars?
Oh gosh. Oh, stars?
Or whatever rating system you prefer.
Man.
I like stars because
Okay.
it's nostalgic.
Oh, this is hard now in hindsight. I feel like my perspective on Arcane has changed,
Uh,
that I found a bit less satisfactory than I initially did. But overall, I mean, like it's incredible. Like the artistry of the animation is already like a huge thing. The writing is quite good. Maybe I'd give it an 8 out of 10. I think I'd give it an 8 out of 10. I think there are a couple gaps in some areas that maybe like make the connection not as strong in some places. The little things where every once in a while we'd be like, yeah, that's like a small mistake, but the writing's overall really good. Like maybe like all of those little things probably have stacked up to drop it down to an 8. Um, and yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to the next one.
yeah. Going through, I think this has probably been my most critical watch through of it. Um, Initially, I think I said I gave it the full 5 stars. Uh, right. So I have like the weird system where
All right, you have your
yeah. So it has to be
by act views.
so in order to get into like the 5 star range, it has to be practically perfect. And so what I mean by that is are the mistakes such that if you corrected them, it would not if you corrected mistakes in the show, would it substantively alter the enjoyment of the film? So like for example, and they could fix it, but I wouldn't enjoy the show more if they fixed it. And with Arcane, that's true for pretty much everything, except now that I think about it, Finn might be the exception to that. I think they
Hmm.
probably could improve Finn in a way that would substantively improve my enjoyment of the film, of the show.
Yeah.
Um, which is which is a little unfortunate because it's like it's such a small part, and so I was like earlier on I was like I was more willing to let it go. Uh, Now that I've gone through it like critically again, like every time Finn shows up, it's us talking about how we lamented the loss of like opportunity here. Uh,
Yeah.
and it's like it's so unfortunate. And so part of the real issue here is how much of it is substantive. And I think I'm probably going to have to drop it down. I'm probably going to have to drop it down to 4. But like at like 4.9, if that Finn thing was changed, like with some of the suggestions we made, so that he was a bit more of an intimidating character, or a bit, if he felt more like a real criminal sort of gangster character, I think it would have improved those scenes, because all those scenes I'm thinking about how much it could be improved. So I don't think I can give it the full 5. And so I'm going to give it a really high 4. And like there's other stuff that are big that like I'm not enjoying the show anymore. Whereas Finn is like usually all the parts with Finn are like my least favorite parts. So yeah,
Mhm.
I'm moving it back down to a 4. Um, but yeah, it's a derivative work, but there's a lot of creativity, a lot of sort of originality. And usually when we're talking about originally, I'm not necessarily saying new concepts, but like how things are used, um, portray a creative vision with interesting ideas. Um, and yeah, it's well written. Uh, it's it's very good. It's very consistent in its well writing. And it's also like very. I think it has like a. What do I say? I think it has like a very good. Part of the problem with when we get to fourth is like how one usually to if I give something a 4-star rating, it has to sort of meet all the previous criteria and has to be sort of the idea of impact, right? A story has to be meaningfully impactful and like change your perspective on something in some way. And I think Arcane does that. Did that for me a fair bit. I was pretty anti kids before I saw Arcane. Strangely enough, Arcane is the thing that made me change my mind on it. Um, so it was like an impactful and meaningful show to me. There's at the end just like Silco, which was like just a fun way to experience it. You should do it sometime if you can get yourself in the headspace.
You cut out their experience. What?
Oh, I said I rooted for Silco originally, which is a very fun
Oh,
experience. Entirely different way to enjoy the show, and it's very fun in its own way.
mm.
But yeah, and I said that, and I said it also convinced me to go have a daughter, so I'm giving it the 4.
Oh.
All right. Um, and we didn't say a lot about the music. If we wanted to bring up, didn't they get like Sting to do that song?
Oh gosh, no idea. I don't know a thing about that stuff.
I don't really either. Yeah, but it is Sting. Um, but the song lyrics sort of reflect some of the stuff I was saying earlier. Like the first line, I'm on the monster you created, you ripped out all my parts, and worst of all, for me to live, I got to kill the part of me that saw that I needed you more. Right, so
Mm.
reinforcing the idea of that she has to kill a part of herself in order to continue. And yeah. And there's some I hope you know that we had everything when you broke me and left me these pieces. I want to hurt you like you hurt me today. And I want you to lose like I lose when I play what could have been. But yeah, it's very much in line with the idea of you I gave you everything, you turned your back on me, and now I have to kill that part of me that loved you because you no longer love me. And at the very least not like Silco loves me. And yeah. But I think you got to be getting to bed soon.
Yes,
And
I will have to.
we have finally finished. So, in the meantime, Air Obscure on Steam, you can go buy it. Dragon Slayers on Amazon, you can go buy it. Castles, the card game, advertised left corner, you can go buy it. Links into Castles are in the description, or you can just find it through my website. Andrew's stuff is all on his YouTube channel. That should also be linked in the description. So check him out. More content is coming. Books are being worked on. Tabletops are being developed. I look forward to seeing you all again for the next show, or whatever we're doing next. We don't quite know. But it's been a fun time. Andrew, is there anything you want to say or to show?
I just want to wish everyone a terrific day/evening.
All right. Well, that'll be us then. And until we see you guys next time, fuck off.